Aquarius is one of the most beautiful and most powerful of the zodiacs. So why is she trembling in fear, saying that if he gets there, everyone is screwed? A few days ago, Victor, the Saint of the Ram, considered extremely powerful, was killed by a man who shouldn't exist. All that is known is that it was a completely one-sided fight. And if not even a zodiac like him could do anything, that means it could only have been another one of the 12. But which of the zodiacs would be killing the others? The protagonist finishes off Victor and thanks him for helping him get stronger since he has 10 more targets to kill. The 12 zodiacs were the peak of human strength, the ones chosen by the gods to protect humanity. But none of them wanted to eradicate the creatures since they would lose their privileges and fame. The plan was always to do just enough. But among the 12, there was someone with a different plan. Ethan was by far the strongest, a combat addict who wanted to put an end to all of this. That's why when the group gathered for the hardest mission, the Crimson Eye, everyone trembled and said it was impossible. Aquarius fell to the ground, wetting her panties. Meanwhile, Ethan faced the boss head-on and jumped into the attack, asking for backup. But when he looked back, everyone was running away. With no way to distract the boss, he was forced to face it alone. And so the endless battle began. Ethan didn't know the absurd number of creatures that existed there. And time kept passing more and more. While fighting, he wondered if anyone would really come back, not even to check whether he had died or not. With no options, he pushed forward until after 2 decades trapped in the hardest dungeon and even losing an arm, he finally reached the last mob. But after finishing it off, the entire place began to collapse. Being buried alive, he thought this was a bitter end. All those who betrayed him were probably living a perfect life while he was going to die there abandoned. With that, Ethan's life comes to an end. The city has been ruined by calamities. 2 young men are running for their lives. One yells, "Run, didn't I tell you not to go that way?" The other snaps back, "How was I supposed to know? Today was supposed to be safe. How could I guess a Heil calamity would show up?" A horned dog-like monster and several others chase after them. One of the boys starts crying. "We're screwed." The fortune teller said, "I'd meet an unbelievable monster today. I should have listened." Then one of the beasts jumps in and lands right between them, forcing them to scatter. One boy falls to the ground in tears while the other gets surrounded and says, "Damn it. If Ethan had survived the Devil's Tower, something like this wouldn't be a problem." He looks toward the Devil's Tower, the same tower Ethan entered long ago with the 12 saints. Then its gates begin to open and a huge light appears before them. In an instant, that light covers everything and explodes across the area. The 2 boys shield themselves from the blast. A little later, the damage from the tower's explosion is clear. "Hey, what just happened?" "I don't know, Jimmy. There's a human coming out of the collapsing tower." A human? They stare in disbelief. Far off in the wreckage, a lone figure stands in the dust. "How dare those bastards stab me in the back and throw me into a trap? You're all dead. I'm coming for every last one of you." Amid the rubble, the 2 boys lie half buried, wondering what happened and who that person is. Then one of the dog-like monsters gets crushed by our protagonist. He stomps its head in, and the boys can't believe those are orange-class calamities, the kind even high-rank awakened ones struggle to beat. To him, they're nothing, more like ants than monsters. Ethan grabs the rest of them with a grin, standing over the ones he already defeated. Then he glances to the side and vanishes in the same instant. Suddenly, he's right in front of the boys, leaving them frozen in shock. They stumble back screaming, wait, why are you attacking us? Please let us go." Ethan pauses. "Wait, you're humans, good. Then the path is clear now, right?" The 2 can only breathe in relief. We're saved. Did you see that guy come out of the tower?" "Isn't that insane?" The other shakes his head. "What are you talking about? Nobody can come out of that tower alive. Maybe some accident happened and he ended up here when the tower collapsed." But while they were saying that, a shadow rose behind them. Both of them froze. Another monster was staring right at them. Our protagonist just turned toward it, completely calm. One of them panicked. "No way, that's the wolf boss. Young, run." Meanwhile, he kept looking at the beast like it was nothing. Then the monster started building energy in its mouth. A second later, it fired, a huge blast straight at them. The 2 boys could only brace themselves. The attack tore through everything in its path. After a while, when it finally stopped, they looked around in shock. Did he just protect us? Our protagonist cursed under his breath, then jumped forward and slammed a hand down on the wolf boss. "You're just a filthy moot." He forced it down and threw a punch, and the impact alone crushed the wolf boss completely. The 2 young men could only stare. Then our protagonist landed with a grin, and the area around them was left in ruins, the boss already beat. He stood there calmly, looking at the 2 boys while they thanked God for still being alive. Now they really thought it was over. Then he called out, "Hey, you 2. They jumped and answered at once. Yes, sir, go buy me some food, I'm starving." They just stared at him and he looked a little awkward. "Oh, and clothes too, I need something new to wear." The scene shifts and now they're inside a small shop. While our protagonist tears through plate after plate of food, the boys are stunned by the bill. He ate the same as spending 10,000 rays, enough food for 120 people. When they say they didn't have much money, he casually says he held back, looking at the pile of empty dishes. That holding back was insane. One of them blurts out, "What do you mean held back?" He answers, "Weren't you the ones who said you'd pay for whatever I wanted after I saved your lives?" Then he adds, "Bring me another plate." They cut him off in panic, saying they don't have money to pay for more. Then one of them asks, "Young, what are you, a disciple, a divine captain, and what were you doing?" "Near the tower," he replies. "What do you mean? I just came out of the tower, then I ran into you too." They stare at him. "You came out of the tower," but he brushes past that. "Forget it. There's something I want to ask you. You look normal, so why can I feel magic power coming from you?" One of them explains that he's a disciple. Then they ask if our protagonist is one too, someone who awakened through a god's blessing. Hearing that, he scoffs. "Those trash gods, why would I be grateful to those bastards?" But then he pauses. He catches his reflection in a spoon and goes still in shock. "A mirror. Give me a mirror now." A worker points one out and he rushes over so fast he knocks everything off the table. He starts pulling off his shirt and stares at his own face. "Wait, what? My whole body recovered." He keeps staring at his reflection in disbelief. Then he remembers how ruined he was inside the tower. Covered in scars, missing flesh, half his head gone. Those wounds should have been almost impossible to heal, not without risking his power. But now he notices something else. His left arm is back. And what's this strange mark on his hand? There's a circular snake symbol. Suddenly, the mark starts glowing stronger, and a wave of pain hits him so hard that his veins bulge as he grabs his arm. Then system windows begin appearing. You experience death. You obtained an impossible achievement. Your previous stats will be transferred to your new body. All tower achievements will be converted into XP you acquired. A divine skill. All unique skills and traits from your past life have been inherited and converted. You can now use the power of Fucus. A snake symbol appears behind our protagonist while the pain keeps tearing through him. Then all of a sudden, his consciousness starts drifting away to somewhere else. He sees his spiritual sea floating among countless galaxies, and in front of him is a giant snake watching him. Our protagonist slowly reaches out his hand, and when he touches it, a light begins shining from both of them. Then suddenly, he's back in the diner asking himself, What just happened? One of the boys rushes over. "Ethan, are you okay?" Just for context, Ethan seems to be the name they're calling our protagonist, but his real name is Ethan. Still shaken, he asks, "What? You didn't see that snake just now?" They look confused. "What are you talking about?" "We didn't see any snake. All we saw was you stand up, start taking off your clothes, and stare at yourself in the mirror. Then you grabbed your fist and started screaming like a crazy person. So that means other people can't see it." As he stares at his hand, thinking that over, the boys just keep watching him, thinking he gets weirder the longer they look. Then our protagonist feels that energy again, and another system window appears. You have become the owner office. More windows pop up in front of him. Ethan, 13th seat of the God's owner of the seat office. Awakened name, the man who crushes all creation. More windows. Explain his abilities, and one of them says he gained Frank Super Regeneration. Any damage to your body will be restored. Your body has been renewed. A temporary penalty. Applies physical ability reduced by 50%. Time remaining 10:32 hours. So his physical change came from that skill. He's never heard of anything like this from the other saints. On top of that, he can't feel any God's presence. No matter what happened, his body is healed now. So that part isn't bad. The real question is what he should do next. Then he remembers the men who pushed him away and left him there to die against the boss. Now, he only wants one thing, to get rid of every saint who stabbed him in the back. Just thinking about what he'll do to those bastards makes him excited. The boy watching him gets scared, seeing that look on his face. Then the scene changes to the site of the explosion, where people are taking pictures while medics and onlookers crowd around. Someone asks, "Is it true the unbreakable devils tower collapsed?" Another answers, "Yeah, the whole world's going to lose its mind over this. That tower was a symbol of this place." Then they wonder if this was the work of Ethan's followers or maybe disciples who hate other disciples. Someone points at the monsters nearby. Even high-ranked saints would struggle against beasts like those. So who could have killed all of them and destroyed the devil's tower? Then someone asks, "Do you think Ethan survived and came back?" The answer is simple. They don't know, but the whole thing feels wrong. After that, the scene shifts to a building where a large group is gathered for a press conference. Cameras flash as reporters shout questions. Youngie, please tell us what you think happened. Do you believe there's any chance Ethan survived? The heavy-set man from the beginning of the story stays quiet, only watching everyone around him. His name is Victor, the saint of the Aries constellation. All he says is, I have. No comment, then he turns and leaves looking uneasy while the crowd keeps shouting for answers. What do you mean you have no comment? The next scene jumps to his car where he starts smashing things in anger. Damn it, Ethan, 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 Ethan. Everyone wants to know about that bastard. How many times have I heard his name just today? Then he wonders if Ethan might really be alive. He remembers our protagonist's broken body from the past and asks himself if he could have survived 20 years inside that tower. No. That should be impossible. There should have been thousands of demonic beasts in there, and every one of them was high rank. It was already a miracle they got out without him, learning they killed the Scarlet Horus. So how could he possibly survive in a place like that? His body had already been badly damaged by the backlash of his own powers. And unlike them, he never had the gods' protection. But then, what if he really did come back to life? He tries to stop thinking about it, but if Ethan truly returned, then everything is over. The scene cuts back to our protagonist checking a phone, just like I thought. I'll start by crushing that bastard first. Then the story moves to an airport. As one of the planes finishes landing, a man steps off and someone greets him. Welcome. It's an honor to meet one of the 12 constellations, Mr. Marcus. He's the blonde guy from the beginning of the story, the one who ate fried chicken with our protagonist. He's dressed in full style here, and once again we're told that he is the Sagittarius constellation Marcus. He asks, where's the Prime Minister? They answer, he's waiting at his residence. Your car is ready over there. All right then, let's go. People nearby whisper about how majestic he looks. To them, that's what a true chosen one looks like. Once he's inside the car, Marcus sits there thinking. Then he glances over and sees his phone vibrating. It's those reporters again. I can't believe. People are still spreading stories that Ethan is alive. Then he notices an unknown number. It's already been more than 20 years. He picks up the phone, turns it over, and keeps thinking. He remembers what they told him before. You're going to die tomorrow. Then he remembers our protagonist smiling with his face all messed up, saying, Marcus, why do you have so little faith in me? When we attacked the Devil's Tower, I left the tower and fought the disaster monsters outside at Ethan's request. I hoped my premonition was wrong and that Ethan would come back safely. But then he showed up badly injured, asking what happened to him. The saints who entered the tower with the protagonist abandoned him and came back with only the head of the Scarlet Eyes. Because that feat was accepted, the 12 saints, including me, were praised as heroes and gained power from it. Later in the hospital, he still couldn't accept that Ethan was dead, so he kept asking people to search for him. But this greedy bastard cut him off. Marcus, it's too late. It was Gary Morgan, the saint of cancer. He reminded him how many disasters came out of that tower and said it was stupid to think Ethan could have survived. Then he coldly told Marcus that if he cared so much, he should go look for MC himself. But if he did that, the number of saints would drop to 11. Marcus could only stand there frustrated and helpless. Back in the present, he was still lost in thought, telling himself that no matter how strong Ethan was, surviving would have been impossible, and after all this time, it was too late now for him. Then someone called out, Sir Marcus, it's a call from the Prime Minister. The call flashed on the screen. Marcus answered, and the Prime Minister quickly asked if he could hear him. He asked if Marcus had seen the news that the Devil Tower had collapsed. Marcus brushed it off as the same old story. He apologized but said that if this was another request to search for Ethan, he would refuse. To him, the protagonist died in the Devil Tower that day. Whatever was happening there now was probably the work of MC's followers. And if this was just being used to win votes, the Prime Minister cut him off. No, that's not it. He said South Korea had just received urgent news. A little while ago, that line got a call. Marcus paused. What line? The private hotline made only for Ethan. The moment Marcus heard that, he froze. He shouted, asking if it was true, then started hitting the poor driver in panic. Stop the car, stop the car. The driver hurried to obey. He slammed on the brakes at once. Then Marcus realized something. Maybe the call he got earlier was connected. His phone showed 30 missed calls and a message. Seeing that he went pale, he quickly called the number back. As soon as it connected, a voice said, Hey Marcus, I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you. That hit Marcus like a shock. Then he smiled through the disbelief. The way he talked, it really might be him. He immediately ordered the driver to turn the car around and head back to the airport. The driver hesitated because of Marcus's schedule, but Marcus snapped and told him to go to the airport now. The scene shifts back to the little shop where Ethan jokes that Marcus has grown up and even improved his calling skills. One of the boys asks who he was calling, and he casually says it was just some guy. Then he points out that this thing is a cell phone and says it's pretty interesting. He entered the tower in 2005, so if it's 2025 now, the world has changed a lot. The boy is stunned that this is his first time using a cell phone. He explains that with it, you can use the internet and check news and videos, too. Ethan perks up at that so he can search for news about the protagonist and yes, even the top trending stories. A bunch of articles pop up on the screen. MC quietly looks through them while the boy watches in amazement. Then Ethan notices the comments. Some people say it's impossible he's back, while others insist that if he were here, he'd be strong enough to take over the whole world. Another commenter calls him trash if he's anything like the 12 Saints, and the replies turn into a full-on insult war. The comment section turns into total chaos. The protagonist gets so mad he nearly crushes the phone, and the poor kid begs him not to break it. He's furious that those bastards are the ones being credited for killing Scarlet Eyes. They were scared out of their minds back then, and now they're trying to pin everything on him. He tries to brush it off, saying it changes nothing for him, but then he remembers something. That thought stops him cold. He searches more and finds a special report about what happened after Ethan's death. Back then, MC had decided that if he died, all his property would be donated to orphanages and school foundations. Now he wonders if that really happened, so he keeps searching. Instead, the news says the 12 Saints mourned his death and praised his sacrifice. It also claims he left all his belongings, including his relics, to the 12 Saints so his wish to save the world could live on through them. All 12 Saints accepted it except Marcus, the Saint of Sagittarius. So basically, those bastards stole everything. The protagonist snaps, crushes the boy's phone, and swears he'll destroy all of them, including those worthless gods. The poor kid drops to the floor, crying over his broken phone, while MC thanks it for its service, and is at least glad the call history was erased. The kid is completely heartbroken. Meanwhile, Ethan thinks about what to do next if he wants people to know he's back. His current face looks nothing like it did 20 years ago. Even if he went around claiming he was him, people would just think he was crazy. So until he can torture every last saint, it's better to stay quiet. The boy is still crying over the phone when a system window suddenly appears. It warns him, be careful, someone is watching you. A red mist starts forming around him, and Ethan immediately recognizes the energy. As he gets up, the boy asks where he's going. The protagonist just says he's going out for some air. Once outside, strange burning goat-like creatures and flying monsters appear. He recognizes them right away. Avatars. They were the lackeys of the Ares sanctuary, and the system confirms it. The avatars are setting up a barrier in Ares' name, weakening the influence of the other constellations. They want him to offer tribute. Ethan clicks his tongue. Those bastards serve the gods, yet humans are the ones who have to pay. He cracks his fingers and gets ready to fight, but then someone nearby starts complaining in the background. Ethan, seriously. The guy says he's heard so many stories about Ethan that he's sick of hearing that name. They were talking trash about MC right in front of him. The woman with him joins in, saying the news won't stop talking about it, and she's already tired of it too. He just watches them. He wonders why the media is giving so much attention to someone who's supposed to be a ghost from the past. Then he notices something else. There's a badge on the man's shirt. The two boys recognize it right away. They're people from the Gemini Sanctuary. One of the boys quickly tells Ethan to come back, warning him not to start trouble with them, but the protagonist keeps staring, and the guy notices, "What are you looking at?" Then he tells him to get lost. The boys panic, thinking they're in trouble now. The man takes a drag, then blows smoke right into Ethan's face. He mocks him and says if MC has a problem, he should do something about it. Before it goes further, the woman tries to pull him away, saying they should leave before he wets himself. Even then, the guy pats his head like he's nothing. He keeps throwing out insults, and the woman laughs along. Then he sneers, asking why people like such a weak saint so much. He even questions whether the protagonist was ever really a saint at all. That finally pushes the protagonist over the edge. One of the boys nervously reminds him, "These people are disciples from Gemini above A rank." MC ignores that and calls them cowards. The guy turns and asks if that was aimed at him. Ethan fires back with a harsher insult, making it very clear it was. So the man walks straight up to him and demands he repeat himself, shocked that a normal person with no mana would dare talk like that. He doesn't bother answering. He just flicks the guy on the forehead. That one flick sends him flying back unconscious. He crashes hard, causing a huge explosion. And the woman is left in shock. The two boys can't believe what they just saw. Ethan only smiles at the scene in front of him. Now the woman is truly scared. The protagonist calls her out, saying he knew what she was trying to do behind his back. She had already formed fire magic in her hand and tried to attack him from behind, but it was a pointless move. Ethan responds with another flick, sending her flying to and smashing through everything in her path. She drops to the ground and the boys are left speechless. They ask how he can use abilities in the middle of the street. Ethan tells them they're mistaken. If he'd really used a skill, those two would be dead. So he took down a ranked disciples with nothing but his bare hands. Then he crouches beside the man and looks closely at his necklace. He rips it off and says he knew something felt strange when he hit him. This wasn't a divine artifact, so why did these bastards have one? Only saints were supposed to possess those. One of. The boys realizes Ethan really doesn't know anything and starts explaining. Decades ago, humanity nearly went extinct because of the calamities. People survived thanks to divine beings and the saints they chose. But since only 12 people couldn't protect the whole world, the saints gathered followers and built divine cathedrals. Those who received power through the saints and awakened became known as disciples. As he explains, an example of someone showing off that kind of power appears on screen. Their ranks met. Their power at the top are the saints' SS rank, the ones chosen by the divine beings. Right under them are the SS rank 10 stars seen as future saints. Then the S rank divine captains, the strongest disciples who lead the others. After that come A rank disciples, then B rank and so on. The divine beings get stronger through the faith of their disciples. That's why the cathedrals hold all kinds of events and contests to pull more people to their side. The disciples they choose even get gifts from the divine beings. As the explanation goes on, Ethan looks around at the treasures on display. He realizes all of this happened during the 20 years he was gone. Then someone calls out for him to look. When MC turns, those goat-like figures are there again. At the same time, the system gives him a warning. The House of Riches, Greed, and Ares are enjoying what's happening. They want him to kill the woman and the man too. They want blood. They even promise him a useful reward if he beats both of them, and the boy panics. He says, Ethan has drawn the attention of the House of the Gods. They're like shadows of the divine beings, so going against them is the same as going against the gods themselves. The boy tells him to do what they said, but he just smiles and keeps talking. He says he was wondering why Victor's idiots were in a place like this. Now he gets it. They were trying to feed that filthy pig. For the god's sake, he really hasn't changed at all. Then Ethan starts drawing out his power. He stomps the ground and a huge blue shockwave rips through the area and slams into all those floating goat creatures. The boys shield themselves from the blast of light. Then all that red smoke is wiped away completely. How dare you stand against me? The House of Ares runs and the barrier disappears too. That Ethan definitely isn't normal. Then Ethan brings up the thug on the ground. He asks if that guy was really a disciple of Gemini. The answer is yes. They belong to the most powerful divine cathedral in the country. It's an elite group packed with influential people. Ethan immediately cuts to what matters. They must be loaded, right? The boy just stares confused. After all, everything the guy had on was expensive. So the protagonist goes right in, saying it's looting time. And to him, looting is the best part. Later that night, they finally arrive and MC groans that the day took forever. The boys start explaining where they live. One points out his apartment on the second floor, while the other says he lives down the next block. They thank Ethan for saving them and getting them home safely. Then, they just stand there waiting. Ethan yawns and asks if they're not going inside. He's tired and clearly not joking around. Next thing, they're inside. Ethan takes off his shirt and starts cutting his hair. Once he's done, he says it finally looks right. Now he's got style again. Ethan gives him a thumbs up, impressed, and asks if he really cut it himself. The protagonist gets a little embarrassed. He explains that in the past, the side effects of his powers made every strand of hair precious. He could practically go bald from a strong breeze. That makes him remember how miserable he looked before, half bald and broken down. Now he can hardly believe his luck. Even his hair is back to normal. Then he suddenly pauses. Why is there a calamity inside this house? He instantly smacks the tiny bug. It turns to dust and the boy freaks out. Normally, even pros couldn't kill one barehanded. But it's not just one, more are coming, and Ethan wonders what these things are seeing in him. Someone asks if he's giving off an aura that attracts calamities. MC shuts that down. Normally that means something in the house is drawing them in. The boy stares at him. Ethan says it's probably because of the evil relics in the house. The boy argues that they were gifts from a saint. Even if they aren't his, he says they were still blessed items. He answers by smashing one on the spot. The boy drops to the floor in despair, while the protagonist calls it disgusting. Then he points things out one by one. That mask is a divine relic used to monitor its owner. The music box steals personal information, and the clock attracts calamities. The poor kid looks crushed. Ethan gets furious. Those rotten saints didn't just steal his money. They're selling cursed relics to people, and taking their information too. Just thinking about it makes him mad. The boy, stunned by MC's anger, is told to throw all of it away, but outside. Someone has just arrived and hears all the yelling. Inside, Ethan is standing there while the boy cries and clings to him. The newcomer walks in and looks around completely confused. He asks who he is, and the nervous boy blurts out, "Sungjo." That instantly sets him off. He snaps that he's the owner of the house, idiot, and starts releasing his power. The story then shifts to Ares' sanctuary at Victor's residence. He's shocked to hear that the Korean avatars have disappeared. The report says the whole Korean branch is in chaos. Victor can't believe it. An avatar is a direct servant of the gods. Only an extremely powerful awakened could drive them back. So he orders his men to contact the other saints and ask if they had anything to do with it. They obey, but add that they still haven't been able to reach Marcus's sanctuary. Victor brushes it off, saying Marcus probably went to the UK to play mercenary again. But then he hears that as soon as Marcus arrived in the UK, he changed course. That makes Victor ask where he went. They answer Korea. Hearing that, Victor starts getting nervous. Marcus used to be close friends with Ethan, so Victor wonders if this is tied to the rumors that the protagonist survived, which would mean he remembers MC from the past, horribly disfigured. Did he really come back? Damn it, he refuses to believe it and hurls a chandelier at a servant who did nothing wrong. Then he demands every detail they have. They report that near the place where one avatar vanished, Disciple of Gemini was found unconscious in the street. According to witnesses, he had picked a fight with a very handsome man. A handsome man. Then Victor decides it can't be Ethan, that he knew had a ruined face. But either way, things have been going badly lately. It's still possible the protagonist is alive and has returned. For some reason, the avatars in Korea are disappearing. And even worse, they recently failed to defeat the Spider Queen too. If this keeps up, Victor could lose his position. So he orders them to prepare his jet. They ask if he plans to go himself. He says yes. He needs to see it with his own eyes, so he heads out with his men. The scene shifts back to Korea to a hospital tied to Gemini. The guy who messed with John earlier is still unconscious. A furious old man demands to know who did this to his grandson. The thug lies there in the hospital bed. While someone says not to worry, that's why Gemini Sanctuary sent the president. He's the S-Class Gemini Knight, Frozen. Mung-hun, back at the apartment, the newcomer asks if they met John today in the Devil's Tower. He hears that Ethan handled all the calamities alone with no weapon, and the boy keeps nervously agreeing. Then comes the next question. Did he really knock out an A-Class too? The boy confirms that part as well. Now the owner loses it, saying none of this makes sense. Ethan even destroyed every relic in the house. He calmly replies that they were all fake, including the one in front of him, the redhead Reddy. To explode demands to know what sect the protagonist belongs to, but the protagonist just smiles and says he doesn't need one. At this point, the guy is seconds from blowing up, so he asks which god MC serves, and MC answers that he serves none of those idiot gods, only himself. They keep going. What awakened class is he? He casually says, a worker maybe. Then comes the last question, his name. The protagonist answers, my name is the protagonist. The moment Ryan hears that, he starts gathering power while the other boy tries to calm him down, but Ryan is done listening. MC barged into someone else's home without permission, destroyed all the relics, and now dares to use the name Ethan as a huge aura rises behind him. He shouts, asking how he could imitate him. Jimmy yells that this is their house and asks if Ryan is trying to wreck everything. Then, a system message appears for the protagonist. The magic power of the Gemini Temple is being released. MC is actually excited. Looks like he's about to study the whole place. Another window pops up asking to activate a skill. It locks onto Rayani of the House of Gemini, awakened Class A title. One who punishes possessed abilities, which is stake rank S. Ice Capsule Seals rank A traits Genius Violent, Stubborn, Obsessed, and Idle Admirer. His genius trait gives a big boost to learning abilities. Ethan notes that Ryani is already using high summons at a young age, so that genius trait clearly isn't for show. Meanwhile, Ryan keeps powering up his giant summon. The other boy panics and yells for him to run. He warns that Ryan is an A-class awakened from Gemini Sanctuary. On top of that, he's a total Ethan fanatic. Then he shouts at Jay to get out too, unless he wants to get beaten up along with him. While the guy was still yelling, the protagonist suddenly showed up right behind him. He warned him not to play with fire, then got his finger ready. Just as he started to turn around, MC flicked him in the forehead and the guy went flying. A moment later, the other boy panics, saying, "This idiot is going to burn down not just the house, but the whole building." By then, the kid in the back is still freaking out and rambling. The redhead drops to the floor unconscious. The boy nervously asks if Ryan is dead. Ethan says, no, he probably just got knocked silly. That only makes the other kid worry even more. Then we see the redhead got a huge bump on his forehead from that flick. He says he's going to bed and that the guy will wake up when he wakes up. Meanwhile, the other boy keeps calling out, asking if Ryan is really alive. He tries to get a response, but the redhead is just lying there with foam at the mouth. After that, Ethan heads into the room. Inside, he finds a bunch of statues and figures of himself. He stares at all of it, then asks what this nonsense is supposed to be. The boy reminds him that Cheyenne is obsessed with Ethan, the protagonist. Right then, the redhead wakes up and yells not to touch them. Carelessly, they're his precious Ethan collection, worth more to him than his own life. MC walks over, rips the head off one figure and says, this is making him feel awful. Then he says, they might as well tear all their heads off, and the guy freezes in shock. The redhead starts screaming about his figures and begs him to stop, but the protagonist just keeps breaking them. He says he already told them he's not some crazy guy, he's Ethan. The poor collector is totally shattered and starts crying. Then the scene switches to a cafe where someone is watching the news. The report says that 2 Gemini affiliates were attacked yesterday by an unidentified man. Witnesses also say the suspect stole the victim's belongings. The one watching the report is Marcus. He immediately says, this has to be Ethan's doing, and wonders what that idiot is up to now. He grumbles that this is the first kind of news he hears right after arriving in Korea. Then a waitress asks what he'd like to order. The second Marcus looks at her, his expression turns cold, and he tells Victor to cut it out and get lost. She smiles and admits he noticed right away. Then it's revealed the fat guy is using the woman's body. He says he couldn't reach Marcus, and judging by how fast he came to Korea, he must care a lot about Ethan. That alone tells him plenty, so he demands that Marcus tell him everything he knows about MC. Marcus instantly snaps back, saying that's exactly why he hates body possessors like him and flicks him. At once the woman comes back to her senses. Confused, she wonders what she's doing there. Marcus curses Victor Way for these stupid tricks and says he needs to find Ethan before the others do. He calls out wondering where he is. Then the scene cuts to a supermarket. The redhead and the other boy are shopping, and the boy says that Ethan might really be the protagonist. The redhead says there's no way, they look nothing alike. To him, Ethan is the hero who saved humanity. There's no way that delinquent is him. But the boy insists he saw him come out of the Devil Tower, and his strength was clearly not normal, so if he really is. The redhead cuts him off and says no. He's sure MC isn't Ethan because his father told him so. The other boy starts to respond, bringing up his father, but the redhead cuts him off again and says they should just go pay. At that moment, a woman suddenly screams in the background. She shouts that there's a thief. Both of them stop and wonder who yelled that. Then someone rushes right past them so fast that items go flying and shelves get knocked around. That man is the thief. The redhead recognizes that speed right away and says he's a Scorpio affiliate. He's using his power to steal everyone's wallets and valuables in the supermarket. The guy zips through the store like a blur, cleaning the place out. While doing it, he thinks to himself that no one can stop him at this speed. Even if other affiliates are around, it won't matter. He says he's already taken most of what he wants and is about to move on to the next place, when suddenly, bam, he gets punched right in the ribs. It's Ethan, calm as ever, saying he caught him. The thief is stunned and the other boy blurts out asking why he is there. The protagonist casually says he came because he forgot to ask them to buy chicken. The thief collapses on the floor twisting in pain, while someone nearby says Ethan's pretty impressive. It's hard to catch a Scorpio affiliate because they're so fast. Still, judging from his energy, they assume he's just an ordinary believer. So they tell him that next time he should report it to the police first. That self-important fool barely has time to react when something suddenly grabs his attention. He turns and the whole supermarket starts shaking. The thief panics, wondering if it's an earthquake. Then he decides this is perfect. He'll use the chaos to escape and takes off at once. As he runs, he thinks he was sure that weird guy had finished him, but this quake gave him a chance to get away. Then the ground in front of him splits open and out of it comes a giant centipede. The thief freezes, realizing it's a calamity. He can't believe one showed up in a green zone. He curses himself, saying he should have run before getting mixed up in this. Even so, he still tries to escape, thinking that no matter how strong it is, it can't catch him at his speed. But while he's still smiling, the monster lunges with its mouth wide open. You can guess how that ended. Then we finally get a full look at the creature. It's the same monster the fat guy said they failed to capture. It stares down everyone there like prey, and panic spreads through the whole supermarket. The monster keeps watching them with a cold, deadly gaze. An announcement says, "This is not a drill." People start panicking even more as another voice reports a calamity event inside the supermarket. With civilians still trapped inside, everyone is told to evacuate outside as fast as possible. Because of the Queen Spider's appearance, the supermarket's danger level has now been raised to a red zone. Then the monster releases a swarm of smaller creatures, some like flies, others like centipedes, and running. A little kid was left behind crying, and a monster rushed in to grab them. But then a green light suddenly appeared, and Ethan smashed the monster aside. He hit it with one solid punch as the child looked back in shock. MC asks if the kid is okay and tells him to be more careful. But the moment the boy gets a good look at him, he freaks out and runs away without even saying thanks. Ethan just stands there a little dumbfounded. Still, he figures the kid seems fine. Then wonders what kind of supermarket has more calamities than people. After being away this long, he decides it's time for a little warm-up and starts pulling out his weapon. But then the scene cuts to a speeding car. And inside, the fat guy hears that a calamity appeared at a market in Busan. At first, he says he doesn't care, then asks what kind it is. When he's told it's the Queen Spider, he's completely shocked. He curses, saying they failed the last raid and barely managed to seal it. Now he wonders if it escaped and admits he can't handle a red-class calamity alone. Then we get an explanation that after calamities appeared, humanity sorted them into 6 danger levels. Blue is low danger, green means safe, yellow is alert, orange means evacuate and danger is rising, red means the area is controlled by calamities, black means human survival is impossible. So if the Queen Spider appeared, that market must have turned into a red zone. Then the driver asks Victor what they should do about the market. He thinks for a moment and says to bury everything. The driver is shocked and asks him to repeat that. Victory says no one can find out the truth. If people learn even more damage happened because they hid the failed raid, it'll become a huge mess. So he orders them to say everyone inside is dead and send affiliates to bury the whole building. Then we return to the supermarket where monsters are tearing through the place. A bald man curses the bugs and uses an ice prison, freezing the insects and monsters around him. As he attacks, he declares that they shouldn't look down on an S rank. It really looks like this bald guy might be the one the old man sent after Ethan. But even though the monsters are frozen, they shatter the ice and charge again. The bald man is shocked that they broke his ice magic so easily. Then Ethan steps in front of him holding a bunch of cans. Like it's nothing, and tells him to move aside. The bald guy can't even tell when he got there. The protagonist looks at the monsters and says they must be starving if they've decided to eat humans. Then he tosses one of the cans he's holding up into the air. He snatches it at high speed and grins. "Eat this." Then he starts hurling cans at the monsters and every throw lands hard. The creatures shriek all at once. One of them gets split clean in half and Ethan tears through the rest like it's nothing. "You really think you can bare your teeth at me, you trash?" Still smiling like a maniac, he clears out the market aisle by aisle. "You weak losers should know your place." The Gemini affiliates can only stare, shocked by how fast Ethan is wiping them out. Then the system pops up beside him. "You have defeated calamities. Your zodiac experience has increased. You obtain new materials for production." Materials? What is this system even talking about? A small crystal appears in MC's hand as the system explains, with the materials you collected, you can create skills and relics. Production skill has also changed. Ethan decides he'll test that later. For now, moving like this doesn't feel bad at all, even with his physical ability cut to 50% because of the recovery penalty. Maybe now he can draw out even more power than before. Meanwhile, the bald guy stares at Ethan in total disbelief. He can't believe he erased those S-rank calamities so easily when he couldn't stop them at all. Then The protagonist talks to Ryan. Huh, when did you get that? The protagonist shows him the dagger he took from their place and the kid freezes. Where did this guy even come from? MC stays completely calm, but the bald man suddenly speaks up. Hey, I knew something was off. So you're the one who attacked our affiliates. That catches Ethan off guard for a second. The guy remembers the two idiots he smashed earlier. Still, the protagonist just tells him to shut up and slaps his cheek. The bald man drops to the floor, stunned. Damn it, how did he figure it out? You know too much. How could I not know, you idiot? Those clothes and that badge came from our affiliates. He realized it after Ethan beat them up. Turns out MC was wearing Victor's outfit the whole time, and that badge is an S-rank relic only Gemini affiliates have. Ryan looks at the badge while the bald guy keeps yelling, I bet that relic is why you're ridiculously strong. Am I right or not? Ethan looks down at it. Huh, why is this crap on me? Gross, then he grabs it with his hand. The bald guy goes pale. You crazy bastard. That thing's worthless. At best, it's just decoration. You were all fooled by the witch. The man can only gasp, calling it blasphemy. He shakes his head. He can't believe this guy and the one from the bar are still acting like punks after 20 years. While Ethan is talking to the bald man, a monster suddenly charges in. The protagonist's expression turns serious. Ryan and the red-haired guy point at it in shock. It's the queen spider, and now she's tearing through everything. People scream in panic as the destruction spreads, and the bald man blurts out, Queen Spider. Ethan immediately draws out his aura too, then he launches himself at the monster. Hey Queen, I've got a gift for you. He lands a brutal hit on her, sending the giant spider flying. Everyone stares in disbelief at what they just saw. What the hell was that? He rushed the queen spider without even using a relic. Then a voice echoes out. All Gemini affiliates inside the supermarket listen. The bald man recognizes it at once. Wait, that voice? Bishop Troy, telepathy. He answers right away. Yes, Bishop, this is Sam. Alex and Sam, is that you? Leave the building immediately. The speaker is Gemini, Bishop Troy, San Ho. Aries people are about to destroy the entire building. Outside, they're already preparing to bring it down. Troy keeps going. Victor is coming in person. We can't stop him. And the Queen's spider in. That supermarket is a monster. Even Victor couldn't kill. That's why they're desperate to bury this whole place. It would be bad if their failure came to light. Sam, you borrowed a teleport skill, right? Take Ryan and get out now. What? Just the two of us? Something makes Sam hesitate. He looks around and sees the wounded people all over the place. The destruction inside the market is impossible to ignore. At the same time, Ethan is still fighting head-on. Sam falls silent, thinking in Troy. Presses him, why are you taking so long? Is there a problem? No, sir, no problem. Meanwhile, the red-haired boy shouts back, begging for help wouldn't matter anyway. So what are you saying? Can't you see the mess here? You're telling everyone to get buried alive. Sam hesitates again, then says he knows, but if word gets out that the Queen Spider appeared in the middle of a city, what will people think of them? He keeps going before anyone can answer. The citizens will blame the sanctuary, their faith will weaken, and so will the power of the gods. Humanity's devotion has to stay firm if we want divine protection. He says they only have 2 teleports left, so only 2 people can go. Ryan, you're coming with me. I have my orders. I'm getting you out. But Alex refuses to leave his friend behind, especially with so many people still trapped inside. You idiot. This isn't the time to make me look bad. I'm not dying here because of some useless brat like you. He starts summoning his ice power again and adds, I can't disobey the saint's orders, so I'll get rid of all this dead weight, then you won't have a choice. The second the red-haired boy hears that, he draws his weapon too. You disgusting piece of trash. Ryan, you really think you can fight me? We're not even close to the same level. Forget that pointless conscience of yours and make the smart choice. But before he can finish, a centipede smashes him across the back. He goes face first into the ground. Sliding hard, then Ethan looks over and says, What? You're still here. It's dangerous, so get out already. Hung the boy calls out. He's using the word for an older brother. Then the red-haired kid explains, the exit is blocked by calamities, so we can't leave. Our only options are to use teleportation or beat all the calamities. The Queen Spider is still there, staring everyone down. There are a lot of injured people too. Outside, the men in suits keep gathering. Purple power, and he adds that the Aries constellation sect is sealing off the whole area. Ethan clicks his tongue. What a headache. The bald man, still wrecked on the floor, gets back up and starts screaming that MC dared to crush him. He cuts him off, saying he thought the guy had already run off and abandoned everyone. Shut up, idiots. Survive on your own if you want. I'm leaving no matter what. But the moment he tries to teleport, a web shoots onto his back. The queen spider has him. What? No way. She yanks him straight into her jaws, and that's the end of him. Only his phone falls to the floor. Everyone stares at the spider with grim faces. Ethan tells the other two, "I'll handle this. Take care of the injured and get out when you can." The red-haired boy and Ryan look at each other, but the protagonist adds, "I'll finish this fast, so move." Outside, the barrier keeps rising and Victor arrives, asking for a report. They tell him they blocked off the store and put the whole building on high alert. He isn't impressed for something they started before he got there. This isn't much. Then they notice the barricade isn't holding. It's being blocked by something. A green light suddenly bursts out, shattering the barricade and throwing everyone back. Then a giant serpent symbol appears around the area. What is that? A snake. People start flooding out of the supermarket in panic. They beg for help, saying the calamity is still inside and people are still trapped. The men in suits try to hold the crowd back as others shout that one guy was grabbing the spiders. Victor watches the whole scene in silence. Grab the spiders. No, that's impossible. Even I can't catch one. So who did it? He starts releasing his red aura. The guards quickly warn everyone. Mr. Victor, there may still be calamities inside. He doesn't care and orders them all to stay alert. Then he leaps from building to building until he enters the supermarket and says, "My God, how did someone manage to kill it? Who did this? There are traces of a battle. What happened here? Is someone really hunting the queen's spider?" This is getting even more troublesome. There's too much to worry about already. But this energy, he takes off running, looks down below and freezes. Wait, that bastard, why is he here? Down in the crowd, he spots Marcus. Victor starts wondering if Marcus is behind all this. Could it really be him? It almost makes sense until someone suddenly says, "Hey, how have you been without me?" Moment Victor hears that, he goes stiff. "What is it, fatty? Something wrong?" It was Ethan. He'd been talking for a while, then asked, "What's with that look? Like you ate something bad." Shocked, the big guy stammered, You're here." The scene shifts to a green alarm blaring. Firefighters guide people out while shouting for anyone hurt to come over fast. They warn everyone to get away from the building while Danny and the redhead stand there thinking, that guy really is Ethan. He looks different, but those moves are definitely his. Then someone calls out, "Ryan." It was Marcus. He stared at him and asked, "Ryan, why are you here?" Danny froze and muttered, "The Sagittarius Saint." The redhead just looked confused. "What? Since when were you back? So that's how you talk to your father?" The redhead is Marcus's son, a pretty wild reveal. Danny smiles, but the redhead is clearly furious. Marcus keeps looking at them, then he says, "It's good, they don't seem badly hurt. A little treatment from the medics should be enough, but what matters more is that they were inside the supermarket, and he heard the calamity was killed. So who did it?" The redhead ignores him completely. Still angry, he just glares, wondering who Marcus plans to chase next. Then Danny says, "But brother Ethan should be okay, right?" The moment Marcus hears that, he rushes over. "You just said Ethan. Where is he? You know him." The poor guy panics. Sorry, are you talking about the saint?" "Yeah, he's inside the supermarket right now. He's also the one who beat the queen's spider. He said his name is Ethan. Tell me exactly what happened in there." Right then, a huge explosion erupts inside the supermarket. Marcus turns and sees the blast behind him. Then the scene changes again. Now the big guy is there beaten up and stunned, saying, "You bastard." But the protagonist just smiles. "You're so dramatic. We've known each other for 20 years and you attack me the second you see me. Who the hell are you?" The big guy snaps. "You look a little like Ethan." But his face wasn't covered in scars and his voice sounds different too. "There's no way he could still look this young. You bastard. How dare you pretend to be Ethan? You almost fooled me for a second. Pretend." The big guy keeps yelling, "How dare you challenge me? You ready for what happens next?" The protagonist just stares at him. "What the hell are you even talking about, idiot?" Then he steps in and drives a hit straight into the big guy's chest, sending him flying. "Did you think I was joking?" He doesn't stop there. He slams the guy around like a ping-pong ball until he crashes to the floor. With one hand in his pocket, the protagonist walks up calmly. "Do you people really need a beating before you listen? Did life get better after getting rid of me? You filthy bastard. You stole my relics, and from what I heard, you even faked my testimony." The big guy can only stare in shock. That fine. I was already planning to send you flying anyway. I'll start by teaching you a lesson." The big guy is still rattled as the protagonist keeps talking. "After that, I'll go to your house, your sanctuary, your relics, and the rest of those trash saints too. I'll destroy it all. I won't let that happen. The way he talks and moves, he's not bluffing. I couldn't even track his attacks earlier. Is he really Ethan? Did he actually survive the tower and come back? No way. If you really are Ethan, then the big guy starts drawing out his power. Prove it to me. A red-purple force flares up around him. A dark symbol spreads across the ground and something rises behind him. He appears with a crown as the system announces the Master of Ares, Jade Emperor, has revealed himself. So only part of your god showed up. Even then, the big guy keeps acting proud. He fires out a storm of chains to capture Ethan, and once they wrap around him, he sneers. Do we still look weak to you now? I don't know how you came back from the tower, but I'll make you regret it. Skill, divine armament. More and more chains tighten around the protagonist, locking him in place while a massive spikes forms right in front of him. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Shut up, bastard. All those spikes shoot straight at him and tear through the whole area. A pile of blades stacks up over him, one over another. Did he finally die? I was surprised he even made it back from the devils tower. Still, he's as stupid as ever to fight me head-on like this. Did he think a few level ups and some experience points were enough? What an idiot. Did he really think I spent the last 20 years doing nothing? Then a green light starts shining from inside the spikes. The big guy immediately tenses up. An explosion bursts out, throwing the blades back as the protagonist charges through and smashes a hard hit into the big guy's face, sending him flying backward. How did he survive that? You really Ethan? The protagonist laughs. So you finally figured it out, you fat bastard. He plants a foot on the big guy's stomach and keeps talking. Yeah, that's right, I really did come back. How did he get out alive? And what happened to you? Even your weapons smell like trash now. That kind of recovery should be impossible, even for Aquarius healers. System messages appear. You experienced near death. Conditions met, skill unlocked, 13th sense. Thanks, you made me stronger. Now how about I try something new? Hey, wait, please. The system keeps going. The god Ares is shocked by Ethan. He tearfully asks why Ethan is still alive. The god Ares trembles, saying, "This is impossible." The god Ares vanished in a flood of curses. The big guy is left panicking. What is this? Why is a god disappearing? The protagonist answers, maybe because he knows fighting me is pointless. I'm feeling merciful, so I'll only make you suffer as much as I did. He says it with a smile full of pity. Then he starts beating the big guy down. And after some time, Marcus arrives with the man's subordinates asking, "What the hell happened here? The place is completely wrecked." And Marcus takes it all in. That energy, Victor, this was definitely Ethan's doing. Only he could leave behind a mess like this. One of the men adds, "Something's wrong. I can still feel Victor's energy from here, but it's way too weak for someone who's alive. What happened?" Marcus says nothing at first. Then he releases his aura and tells them, "Step back for a second." The next moment he vanishes and heads straight to where the big guy was. After looking around, he curses, "Ethan, that bastard. He even left a message there." Pathetic bastard. What kind of mess are you making next? The scene shifts to Iris's house. The protagonist arrives calmly and says, "So the divine artifact Victor stole from me is here, huh?" He steps inside and soon finds a statue of the big guy with people moving around the place. The protagonist looks around and says, "That bastard is so obsessed with looking rich. He's showing off all this wealth, but I can already sense my divine artifact. And what's with these fake relics? Looks like he even took clothes from my house, but these weapons are all fake." Then he spots something labeled toothpick used by Ethan. "There you are, my precious." Then the scene cuts to people in shock as a red alarm starts blaring. It's the thief. Hurry, all guards to Area B when they arrive. The protagonist is standing there holding the toothpick. In no time, a whole force surrounds him. Hands up, drop the item, and surrender peacefully. He just looks at them. "Yeah, I don't feel like it." He flicks the little toothpick and it starts smashing through everything, sending people flying. They get thrown all over the place while he calmly says, "You really should use what you're best with, don't you think?" Then it changes form. It was a toothpick and now it's a slime. "Good to see you again." Lime, the system announces you unlocked a divine artifact. The slime that creates all divine artifact of creation guidance. Rank S trait shape change, rank S another message follows. Conditions met to unlock the skill creation workshop. A 1.5 meter workshop has been created. Default workshop range unlocked. Production, repair, reinforcement, and dismantling. With the creation skill engraved, the traits of the slime that creates all can be granted. All right, should we get out of here now? Then one more system window appears. The energy of Ares's divine artifact is being strongly detected. it'd be a little disappointing to leave empty-handed. The little slime stares at him as he walks forward. He opens the door and says, "Time to farm." Then the scene cuts to Marcus saying he came too late. The big guy's mansion is already wrecked and people are running everywhere in panic. "Ethan, please stop this." People keep fleeing in the background as the scene changes again. Now the protagonist says, "I'm starting to get hungry," Marcus shouts. "Ethan, huh." Marcus comes running over, crying like crazy, but he rushes right past Ethan without even noticing him. Instead, he grabs some poor guy and yells that if Ethan was alive, he should have gone to him right away. Then he demands to know what he did after coming back. MC just stares at him, confused, while Marcus keeps rambling, saying his leg looks fine, but the rest of his body doesn't, and asking where he's rushing off to in that condition. That makes Ethan snap. He kicks Marcus in the face and snaps. "You can't even recognize your own friend, idiot." Marcus spits blood, still stunned, while the poor extra nearby clearly wants to get out before things get worse. Marcus freezes, then he notices the divine artifact, the slime, and stares. "Wait, are you really?" Ligham cuts him off, ready to hit him again if that's what it takes to fix his head. Marcus, the poor guy, can barely speak. Then Marcus finally blurts out, "Ethan," and throws himself at Ethan totally. Emotional, even Lime looks happy. Marcus can hardly believe it. He is really alive, but Gorup's hard into his stomach, and Marcus reels back in shock. The protagonist curses at him for hugging him out of nowhere, and that only convinces Marcus even more. Yeah, that's definitely Ethan. Just then, the system warns them. Apollo has appeared. Everyone pauses. A golden aura rises behind them as Apollo shows up. Marcus stares clearly shaken while Apollo opens his eyes and fixes Ethan with a strange look. Marcus looks even more nervous, but Ethan stays calm. Then Apollo appears right in front of them, and Marcus can't understand why he's here. Apollo only keeps staring at Ethan in silence. MC frowns and asks what this is supposed to be. The system says Apollo doubts Ethan really survived and suggests checking if this is truly him. Marcus is lost. How is he supposed to do that? Apollo raises his bow at Ethan and figures a fire arrow should reveal the truth. Marcus quickly hugs him and begs Apollo not to do it. He meanwhile thinks maybe he should just get rid of this messed up god too. After all, the guy is aiming arrows at someone he just met. Marcus keeps trying to calm things down, saying it's fine, and Ethan doesn't look hurt. The protagonist says he'd rather settle a few things first. Marcus flinches. What? Then he remembers MC's voice message and goes pale while Ethan keeps talking. He says he just got out of the tower and found out his house was sold, his name was ruined, and all his relics were gone. Marcus tries to stop him but says, for now he'll just give him one punch, and he actually does it. He takes the hit and says that punch proves it. Marcus really is Ethan's guy after all. Right then, Victor's guards show up shouting that they found him. They tell everyone to grab the man who stole the relics. Ethan blinks, then remembers he was being chased. Marcus turns to Ethan and asks what exactly he stole. The protagonist casually says it wasn't much, then shows a bag stuffed with items. Hugo realizes he robbed Victor's relic storage. That makes Ligham tear up and yell, asking what kind of mess Ethan just caused. The guards want to arrest him right away, but their leader stops them, saying MC isn't someone they can handle. He knows calling more people like them still won't change anything. Before anyone can react, a huge gust tears through the area and Ethan wonders what that was. Then something leaps in. One of them realizes who's arrived. A massive sword crashes down and they understand it. This is Ares' avatar, the Beast of Riches. The creature roars right in front of Marcus and Ethan. They look up and Marcus immediately panics. It's Ares' avatar. He urges Ethan to drop what he took from Victor and run, but he tells Iso to relax. He says he has a plan, then calls for Lime to do it. Lime's eyes start glowing and light pours out of him. A moment later, he spits out what looks like Ethan's weapon. The protagonist knows it'll be hard to fight an avatar with it in this condition, so he calls for its true form, the one that stayed asleep until now. Green energy starts wrapping around his old weapon, and Marcus wonders what kind of power this is. Then lightning strikes and a huge new sword appears in Ethan's hand. Now he says it's finally useful. The system explains that the relic awakened through the power of Fucus, and thanks to that Constellation Snake Hunter trait, the sword gained a fatal strike effect. Its blade became sharper and its power increased. Another skill unlocks 13th sense. Now Ethan can see the enemy's vital spots in the path of destruction. MC grins, so this is his new ability. He tests it at once and spots the monster's weak points. With that, he's ready to move. He charges straight at the beast while Marcus watches from behind. He remembers this is exactly how Ethan always fought, taking the lead and rushing the enemy, no matter how dangerous it was. He tells him to finish it fast, but then the monster slams its paw down just as he closes in. Marcus shouts in shock. Something happens to the beast's paw. Ethan complains that Marcus is yelling too loud, jokes that the smell of that beast's feet nearly killed him, and says, now it's his turn. The monster is stunned when its paw goes flying. Ethan sliced it clean off. The beast roars in pain, and the system warns them to be careful. The beast of riches, Pichu, has used its skill. It keeps roaring, but the protagonist stands there calmly and says it would have avoided punishment if it had stayed. Quiet, now he's going to start slowly. He gets ready to attack again, and the system announces that office trait is activating. Snake Hunter. Ethan swings, sending a slash racing across the ground toward the monster. The force tears through everything in its path, reaching far into the area. Everyone can only stare in shock. Ethan stands firm, and the trail of destruction shows just how powerful that blow was. Marcus realizes this power matches the MC from his prime. The monster is completely beaten. And the system announces he defeated an avatar, and his divinity points increased. Then it asks if he wants to take the beast of riches Pichu as his own avatar. Ethan is surprised. Only the 12 gods are supposed to control avatars. So this is possible too. He walks up to the beast and pets it. His aura starts wrapping around it, and the creature even grows wings. The system confirms that the beast of riches Pichu has become a Fucus avatar. Current number of avatars 1. Now it looks oddly cute. Pichu shrinks down just to hug its new owner, and Ethan picks it up. He says, a beast of riches like this will make a great treasure chest. In the back, Marcus is speechless. He just turned another sanctuary's avatar into his own. And Marcus can't imagine what kind of condition allowed that to happen. Ethan cuddles the little beast for a second when the system appears again. It says he can give Pichu a name. The protagonist thinks for a moment, then names it Piggy. After that, the scene shifts to Marcus's house, and C calls him a traitor, and Marcus fires back asking if Ethan has any idea how worried he was. He calmly says that unless he's wrong, Marcus got married, started a family, and enjoyed life while his friend was trapped inside that awful tower. Ethan keeps pressing him, then jokes that maybe he won't be able to rob him in his own house. He repeats that point more bluntly, but Marcus says not to worry. The protagonist can stay as long as he wants since he lives there alone. That awkwardly slips out, and Marcus tries to cheer things up. Then he panics and explains he's not divorced. It's just that his wife never mind. He tells him C to forget it. Instead, he asks what the hell happened inside the tower. Privately, Marcus decides not to tell Alex or Yu about Ethan yet, since they were crazy about him back then. Marcus had been fighting the calamities outside the tower, so he never learned what happened inside or why the other saints came out carrying the head of the Scarlet Eyes instead of him. Ethan says, the truth is simple and ugly. He was stabbed in the back and thrown into a trap. That place was packed with calamities. More and more kept showing up, and even Scarlet Eyes came back to life. Hearing that, Marcus is shocked. Scarlet Eyes revived. The protagonist confirms it. He explains the monster was deeper inside the tower, and its real form was a giant fire dragon. Ethan says he still managed to kill that bastard, but the real problem wasn't Scarlet Eyes. It was the tower's true administrator. That guy could revive dead calamities. No matter how many times MC killed them, they kept coming back. Somehow, he still managed to get out. But honestly, he thought he would never escape. That sick freak tortured him badly for a long time. In the end, I used everything I had and beat the tower's administrator. If I remember right, I got buried after that. When I woke up, the monsters were gone from the cave. And somehow, I had these new powers. One thing's for sure, the bastard who stabbed me knew the tower inside and out. That's how he trapped me in that cave packed with calamities. He had to know exactly where it was. I'm definitely going to make those guys pay. The ones who stole what was mine and talked trash about me. But the one who betrayed me, I've got something special planned for him. First, I need to get ready. Marcus is left stunned after hearing all that and asks what he should do. Ethan says he needs to make the gear he'll use against them. Then he uses his power on the little wooden horse he set down, and his skill appears. Creation Workshop Level 1. It can summon a workshop that makes anything. The system starts searching for usable crafting materials and asks if he wants to use divine relic materials. A list of available materials pops up. Corrupted essence of the Queen Spider stored magic power can be absorbed. Calamity Fragment raises the success rate and power of a divine relic. On top of that, several divine relics from Ares are detected. They're the relics he took from Ares's house. Ethan decides to just throw everything in and try it. The creation of the relic begins. The whole house is covered in green light as more system messages appear. Creation complete. A divine relic has been made, and it produced an ego. Imitation horse rank D. If you write someone's name on the relic, that person can absorb the magic power of whoever they touch. It lets them take 10% of another person's magic power for 1 hour, and it's strongly loyal to its owner. Ethan is pleased. Divine relic with an ego can grow on its own. Marcus just claps in amazement. Still, he says a high item with an ego doesn't look all that impressive, and the horse instantly gets mad at him. He fires back. Does he have any idea how many materials that took? The relic asks if he wants to use the remaining materials to make something better, but the protagonist lets it go for now. Then Marcus changes his tune, praising the design and calling MC a genius for making a divine relic. MC points out that a second ago he was insulting it and saying he should show it some respect. Then Marcus asks if he studied design in the Devil's Tower. He thinks for a moment and says that depends on how useful Marcus is from here on out. They need to start dealing with those fake saints. Poor Marcus even gets smacked on the head. He asks how the protagonist plans to do that. It won't be easy to lure the other saints out of their territories. Ethan asks if this should be enough to draw them in. It's the truth. Divine relic from the House of Ares, the Golden Fleece Chest. The system explains, Golden Fleece Chest, rank SS. It can store anything and even multiply the items inside if you pay the price. It's one of the best true divine relics. Marcus asks why he brought it if he can't even use it. Ethan says he heard Iso is a saint with no money, so he brought it to help fund their side. Iso gets annoyed and snaps that he isn't poor, then asks, the higher the relic's rank, the more materials it costs. Right? MC says they'll use it to multiply their materials and make divine relics strong enough to crush the others. Marcus asks how they're supposed to do that when nobody there can activate it. Ethan stares at him and asks if he really can't use it. Marcus reminds him he isn't Ares' saint, he's the Sagittarius saint. Didn't he notice? The protagonist didn't. The two of them just sit there in silence. Then Marcus says maybe MC can use it instead. Ethan shuts that down too and says they need another way, but then he keeps talking and casually mentions he already sent a declaration of war to a broadcasting station. He is stunned. He blurts out, "What did you send and where?" Marcus says, "There's no point now. They just have to figure something else out." The protagonist repeats the question, furious, and calls him insane. The scene shifts to the Blue House in Korea, where a meeting is going on. One man angrily tears into the others, saying they couldn't even beat a single spider and only ended up humiliating themselves. He says they should have stuck to selling charms instead of joining a fight against a calamity. He's the divine captain, Divine Lion Oliver, but someone cuts him off. They warn Divine Lion to watch his words. Oliver says he heard some random guy beat the queen spider. Then he wonders if the dead Ethan somehow came back to life. Another person tells him not to go too far. It's obvious he's way too obsessed with MC's old hero stories. That man is the Gemini Divine. Captain Troy, he's the one who told the bald guy and the dagger user to run from the supermarket. Troy asks what the problem is. If it really were Ethan, then of course he could have taken down that spider easily. Didn't they see that famous Russian subjugation video? But another man argues he only did that because he got buffs from the other saints, and his weapons were given to him too. With that kind of support, they would have done even better. Troy Drury answers that maybe he just didn't get enough support to beat the queen spider then. That's why he failed, right? The man immediately gets angry. He insists he's just setting the record straight. Ares' side defeated the queen spider thanks to the sacrifice of an S-rank disciple. Troy mocks him saying, "Wow, Ares has someone that strong. He'd love to meet them, though he'd probably have to search inside the queen spider's stomach." The argument keeps going while an old man in the back grumbles about how the Blue House turned into a den of thugs. Then someone bursts through the door shouting for the president to turn on the news right away because something huge happened on the broadcast. The reporter says their station just received a mysterious package containing photos from someone claiming to be Victor along with a short message. The photos show Victor wrecked and the note says, "I'm back." A handwriting analysis confirms a 99% match. The writing belongs to the supposedly dead lion. Then the scene cuts back to Marcus yelling. He asks the protagonist what he was thinking when he sent that. MC says it was a declaration of war. He's telling them to get ready because he's going to rip off every one of their heads. Marcus keeps shouting, telling this maniac to focus. Beating Victor was already a huge problem, so why did he have to announce himself too? Ethan corrects him. Victor isn't dead. Marcus freezes. What he says, technically, he's alive but not really living. Marcus is completely stunned as the protagonist presents the answer. "Tada, this is Victor." He holds up a teddy bear and the bear is sweating. From inside it, Victor curses Ethan. Marcus can't believe it and asks if that really is Victor. From inside the bear, Victor screams for MC to let him out. He explains that the battle made his abilities grow a lot. Now he can suppress Victor's soul. He talks to the bear like it's being naughty while Victor just keeps trembling inside. Marcus asks if something like that is even possible. Ethan brushes that off and tells him to look at something else, handing him an orange peeler. Marcus has no idea what he's looking at, so the protagonist explains that this is the orange peeler used to carve into his back in the Devil's Tower. The person who tried to kill him used this, and from the engraving, it doesn't seem like it belonged to just anyone. Marcus asks if Ethan has any idea who it might have been, but MC barely listens and keeps yanking on the teddy bear that now holds. Victor, he says he's going to stop by the Divine Artifact store for a while. Marcus asks why. Ethan says maybe the person working there has seen those engravings somewhere before. Then the mood softens a bit as the protagonist asks to borrow some clothes, and Marcus tells him he can wear anything in the closet. The scene changes again. Now dressed up in style, Ethan says he'll leave servant number 2 at home this time. That makes Marcus stop and ask number 2. So there's a number 1, MC. Says he'll be back, servant number 1, meaning Marcus. Marcus fumes while Victor, trapped in the teddy bear, grins at him. The story then moves back to the place where he fought Pichu. A group of sharply dressed women arrives and starts looking around. One says, the Saint of Ares isn't here either and she can't sense his divine power at all. Then it cuts to someone calmly taking a bath, wondering where he could have gone. She's the Aquarius Saint Sophie Morris. Maybe he vanished along with all his wealth. She says that would be troublesome, especially if he made a deal with another saint behind her back. She wants to know where that fat man went. One of the others carefully suggests that maybe the newly returned Leon kidnapped Victor. At that, Sophie just smiles. She calmly says those jokes aren't funny, and starts drowning the other woman under the bath water without changing her expression. Terrified, the woman quickly apologizes and says she spoke out of turn. Sophie lets it pass and tells her to go to the Divine Artifact store as planned. She says they need to get ready to sell divine artifacts and raise money for the drama auction since that auction is very important. But while she's saying that, another bodyguard rushes in shouting that there's a huge problem. The other saints have also applied to join the drama auction. Hearing that, she's shocked and blurts out, What? Then the scene shifts to the Lion Academy. A group of muscular guys stare ahead in shock. In front of them, a beast-like man trains hard, pushing through a heavy squat before dropping the weight. Then someone walks up behind him and says the artifact of Ethan will appear at the drama auction. Hearing that, he goes quiet for a moment. He lets the weight slam to the floor and laughs, saying it finally showed up. He declares that Ethan's artifact will belong to them. This is the Leo Saint, Stephen. Next, a portal opens with crackling lightning. The protagonist steps out of it. Marcus's son comments, that teleportation is really useful, and the redhead answers that it normally costs a lot, but for people tied to Gemini, it's free. They've arrived at the Divine Artifact store complex. Ethan thanks him, saying he needed an appraiser and got introduced to an SS rank 1. The redhead brushes it off, but then remembers his boss's order. He met the man who defeated the Spider Queen, so he's supposed to keep watching him with full support no matter what. He looks at his phone and sighs until Ethan asks if his boss has been bothering him since that incident. The boy quickly denies it. Then MC hands him the item, saying it worked well against insects. Its details appear on screen. That orange peeler, it's Janice's desire. Rank A, its skill summons 2-faced soldiers, a red one and a blue one, and triggers a random ability. The redhead points out that it wasn't rusty when Ethan took it from his house, and he says he repaired it, though the effects changed a bit, so don't be surprised. The boy thanks him, amazed. Then he looks around and says, this is where the SS rank appraiser works. Inside, a man is suddenly startled while everyone outside starts murmuring that someone so stunning is actually here. It's the same bodyguards from before escorting the Aquarius Saint. She walks in like she owns the place. She approaches the clerk and says she wants to leave some divine artifacts with the appraiser before the auction. The nervous clerk apologizes and explains that the appraiser is with another client right now. That annoys her. How dare he help someone else while she's here? Still, she keeps a sweet smile and says she'll wait nearby. Even so, she keeps wondering who's inside. And inside, of course, it's Ethan. He looks around at the expensive items and says an SS rank really runs this place. Then the appraiser asks Rayani who made this item, and the protagonist answers from the side that he did. The man is stunned and asks if MC has some connection to MC. He's the Virgo affiliate and an SS rank appraiser. The redhead introduces him as someone claiming to be him, but the appraiser thinks he's joking and tells Sanji they're having a serious talk. He turns back and demands to know the protagonist relationship to the protagonist. The protagonist just goes, what do you mean? The appraiser explains that most people only know MC for his fighting, but he was also a legendary maker. As for the artifact he brought, he says he's seen many fakes, but this one is different. He can feel his craftsmanship in it. That makes the protagonist smug, and he says, this guy must know the protagonist well. The appraiser proudly says he does because he's MC's disciple. He even blushes saying it. Ethan is just as confused as anyone. What nonsense is this guy talking about? He doesn't remember ever having a disciple still studying him. The appraiser says someone his age couldn't be a direct student, though his skill is impressive enough that he almost got fooled. That only makes him want to smack some sense into him. Then the man pulls out a small notebook and says, this is an item the protagonist gave him after recognizing him as a student. Ethan is shocked. It's the notebook he lost. He realizes this might be the newbie who followed him around in China. Back then, the guy was so annoying MC thought he was just a pest. But now, 20 years later, he's aged a lot. The appraiser gets emotional, saying Ethan had an amazing eye for items and gave him really useful information. Then one day he suddenly vanished, leaving his things behind, and this notebook was all that remained. The protagonist, meanwhile, realizes this disciple really did take it. The man goes on saying MC's handwriting was awful, so he could barely read it, but he believes it held his ideas. Ethan wants to yell that the idiot is wrong. It was actually his hit list. After reawakening, he can get info from anyone he beats, and since this guy is SS rank, he should have some very useful information. The appraiser says the notebook would be more useful for a talented young man like Ethan, and asks him to take it too. The protagonist is pleased. There were even a few of his bills tucked inside, so losing it had bothered him. Then the system announces that the sleeping notebook is reacting to its owner's magic. It will evolve into a divine relic through Ophiuchus magic. The appraiser is stunned and says it's a divine relic that stores memories. He adds that MC has a kind of ability he's never seen before. The notebook changes shape, becoming fresh green and completely restored. Right then, someone calls out to Jinyang that something happened. The old man turns and asks what it is, still confused until the assistant says the saint is outside. Jinyang gets annoyed, wondering why everyone is making such a big deal over one saint. Ethan hears that and asks, a saint? Outside, the Aquarius saint is still waiting by the door. She thinks to herself, annoyed about all these low-class people staring at her. To her, that always happens in public. In the back, the redhead casually drinks some juice and says, Sophie Morris usually only appears at official events. He heard it's hard enough just to get her out of the church. Now, out of patience, she says waiting any longer is a waste of time. She decides to go in and speak to the appraiser herself. That appraiser has to buy their divine relics at a high price so they can raise money for the auction, and she's tired of being kept waiting. Her bodyguards beg her to be patient since he still has a client inside, but she snaps and says she'll see for herself who this client is. The moment she opens the door and looks at Ethan, she freezes in shock. To her, he looks strangely dazzling, and then everything changes. Like before, the scene picks up with the saint entering the room. The instant she sees Ethan, she's shaken. As she steps closer, she suddenly feels a deadly aura. At once, she drops to her knees, and her guards rush to ask if she's all right, but all she can think is, what was that? The power she felt was like being surrounded by thousands of snakes. She knows she has to get away immediately, so she runs out in panic, while Ethan and the appraiser just watch her leave. Then the mustache man asks him why she ran off like that, and the protagonist says maybe she's sick. Right after that, the system speaks up. A Zodiac affiliate approached Ophiuchus without fear. Your divine power has increased. Current divine power 35. Ethan wonders if divine power is different from magic, and the system explains divine power takes shape as the power of gods. It can be stolen from gods or taken from other people. If it ever drops to 0, your Zodiac loses its strength. And if that lasts too long, you'll weaken. MC realizes he keeps gaining more and more abilities. Then he asks if the girl who just ran out was a saint. The appraiser is surprised. He doesn't know her even though she's all over the headlines. She's the Aquarius Saint Sophie Morris. Ethan pauses. Sophie Morris. So that's what all this saint talk was about. He realizes that little girl became the saint and she's changed a lot. He's not shocked he didn't recognize her. She already looked fine before, but even if plastic surgery made her prettier, her rotten heart stayed the same. If he had to sort the things he hates into fish, bones, worms, and trash, Sophie would definitely be a worm. To him, she barely even counts as human. She values skincare more than human lives. Then, the mustache man says he doesn't understand why people call her the peak of compassion and selflessness when she's really cruel and selfish. Jack notices that means he knows a little about her. Outside, the saint tells one of her bodyguards to go back to the pawn shop and find out who that man was. The guard agrees, then asks what they should do about the appraiser. She cuts her off and says she changed her mind. kill all of them. Guys, this saint is ruthless, so yeah. Any ship with Ethan is already dead. She thinks the Virgo saint likes that appraiser too much, and now they still need to sell their items. Being dragged into this mess ruined her mood and made her feel humiliated. Worse, that man brought back her trauma. To her, both of them are just rude idiots. She even offers her divine relic and says she'll lend out the power of the gods, but Sophie's aide hesitates. Using that kind of power in a neutral district is dangerous. Sophie cuts her off and asks if she's refusing an order. Then the story moves to the relic shopping district in the central zone. Walking through the area is Marcus's red-haired son, casually drinking juice and minding his own business. Then he suddenly stops. What is this? Why is there water on the ground when it isn't even raining? The water feels weak, but it still carries magic. Then he realizes something is wrong. A hand starts rising out of the water, and a clone made of water begins taking his shape. He's completely stunned, trying to understand what's happening. Looking around, he sees other people panicking as more water doubles appear. Above them, the saint watches the whole thing and calls it mirror duplicate. These copies are only ranker level Templars, but even weak ants can bring down an elephant if enough of them attack together. Someone shouts at the guard, asking why she's using a combat skill in a neutral zone. He tells her to cancel it right away. She brushes him off. This came straight from the saint. According to her, it's the will of the gods. She activates a relic, and a huge light fills the area as Ryan tries to stop her, but he's too late. She unleashes the water chalice called Oblivion. Water spheres begin surrounding everyone while even more clones appear behind her. Satisfied, she says she'll handle the man inside the appraiser's building herself. The others are ordered to capture every relic appraiser, and the water clones rush off. Ryan realizes he has to get out fast. If he stays, he'll lose consciousness no matter what. The scene cuts back to Ethan. He quietly watches water drip down from the roof, and the mustached appraiser says something bad must be happening outside. A wave of water magic suddenly wraps around him, and someone appears right behind Ethan. She warns him not to move. It's nothing personal, but the saint is upset with him, so he better stay still. If he wants to avoid bloodshed, he should cooperate. The saint ordered both men killed, but if he apologizes for disrespecting her and buys their relic for a high price, she might go easy on him. Meanwhile, the mustached man is trapped inside a water bubble, but then he sees something that leaves him shocked. Ethan grabs her dagger and snaps it like it's nothing. He tells Ginny to make them pay for the damage. The woman just stares, unable to process what happened, while the appraiser thinks in disbelief that dagger was a gift from Aquarius. How did Ethan break it so easily? She yells that she told him not to move, then summons a water dragon that rushes straight at him. He destroys it instantly. Then he smirks and asks if she has more. That was fun. She can't believe it. He wiped out her ranker level clone with one move. Now she finally understands how the saint felt. This man is dangerous, and if she leaves him alone, he'll become a problem for Sophie. So she throws everything she has at him. She says this power was made from the saint's purest magic. Then she summons orange rank water wolves, and a whole pack forms in front of her. Ethan just watches and says she's really trying. Then he reminds Jenny that he was told to take whatever he liked. So he decides he's taking these two. In the next second, he vanishes from the appraiser's sight and rushes through the woman and the wolves at high speed, cutting them apart in an instant. He's impressed by the dagger, saying it slices through them like butter. The material must be above rank or level. He only came to appraise his items, but ended up finding something much better. After destroying all the wolves, the system announces that he received data from a mirror duplicate fragment. Message after message appears in front of Ethan, and he just calls it beautiful. The woman can only stare in disbelief. Every summon from the saint was crushed with ease. There's no way. This can't be the end, right? She realizes he's far above her level. If she attacks again, she'll definitely lose. So she turns around and runs. Ethan just smiles at her retreat, and even the mustached appraiser is left amazed. Right then, the red-haired boy rushes in, asking if the protagonist is okay, and saying he was just attacked too. But when he sees all the defeated wolves, he can't figure out what happened there. Then he notices the magic and realizes those were the saint's summons. Ethan says if she keeps sending things like this, she's basically asking him to use them as materials. Still, he tells Ryan they need to leave before the next attack comes, but the mustache man stops them. For a moment, he says that 20 years ago, he followed MC everywhere and studied his creations. He clearly remembers how Ethan used to collect materials from enemies after battles, that wild fighting style and that demonic presence. Could this really be him? The protagonist simply raises a finger telling him to stay quiet, and the old man gets the message at once. Then MC walks away saying he'll come back for those materials, so keep them safe. He has questions too. The appraiser thanks him and asks him to come again. Then watches Ethan leave in style. Next he talks with Alex, who asks why the saint is targeting him. Did the protagonist do something to make her his enemy? MC tells him to wait. He's about to show him something fun. The scene shifts and now they're inside a snack shop. There are cupcakes, cakes, and sweets everywhere, while Ethan happily stuffs himself with food. He asks Ryan if the ice cream is good and tells him to eat as much as he wants. Ryan agrees but points out that this place is expensive. Then he remembers that when the woman ran away, she dropped one of her items on the floor. He says it's fine after checking out this little thing. It should help a lot. It's a badge and it can work like a credit card while also storing abilities. Looking closer though, it seems to be an Aquarius badge. If it really works as a payment card, that could cause trouble later. Even so, Ethan keeps eating like there's no tomorrow. He asks Alex if he likes the ice cream too, but the poor guy freezes when he hears a voice. Turning around, he blurts out, "Captain Troy Sunuck." Troy asks if they mind if he joins them. Ethan looks at him and realizes this is Ryan's boss, the jerk who is talking trash about him. Troy introduces himself as the divine captain of Gemini, Troy Sullivan, and he politely says Ryan mentioned someone earlier, and the protagonist confirms it was him. Troy explains that he heard Ryan met an acquaintance who defeated the Spider Queen, something even Victor couldn't do. Before, Ethan asks what that has to do with him. She says recruiting outstanding talent is part of his job as a divine captain. MC immediately asks if he's trying to recruit him, maybe even bribe him. Troy reveals that one of his 8 divine relics will be auctioned soon. There's no rush, so they can talk while he oversees the auction. The moment Ethan hears that, he puts down his spoon. They're auctioning off his stuff, then there's no time to waste. He says he's going to, and asks where the auction house is. Ryan gently tells him to wipe the ice cream off his mouth first. Troy smiles, reaches out to Ethan and says that since this is one of the protagonist's famous relics, it will be auctioned in a proper place. The biggest auction house in the world, floating 16,000 FT in the sky. Its name is Drachma, the city fortress. It's a massive zone surrounded by floating islands centered around a giant tower. Then the scene changes to the saint, shaking in fear in her chair while someone nearby speaks up. He tells her that if she's just going to sit there trembling, she should leave. She's ruining the taste of his drink. She insults him in her head as a rude brute with no manners, but decides to put up with him for now. This is the man who rose above even Ethan, so staying near him feels safest. He is the Leo Saint, Stephen Mercer. Stephen says the weapon of MC's being auctioned today belongs to him, so she shouldn't even think about bidding on it. When she asks where he's going, he tells her it's none of her business and to stay put. He leaves and she glares at his back in frustration. Still, she tries to calm herself. This is Drachma. No matter who that man is, there's no way he could come here. And then she sees Marcus. Someone welcomes the valuable guest right on time. Marcus scratches his head and wonders where he could have gone. He figured he might come here since this place is full of expensive divine relics. At that exact moment, the saint appears behind him with a creepy smile. She looks straight out of a horror movie and greets him like an old friend, asking how he's been. She calls out to Marcus Otter and he recognizes her, Sophie. Marcus says it's been hard to see her lately and jokes that even she couldn't be timed forever. She used to be one of the prettiest saints, but now she's changed a lot. Or maybe it's because unlike us, you barely have any disciples. Marcus just stands there, then snaps at her to get lost. He wants nothing to do with her. She mocks him, asking if he's going to ignore her and run off again. If he does, she warns he might lose his children too, just like he lost his wife. Marcus's expression turns cold, but she keeps talking. She says his wife still isn't dead, right? But that could change at any moment. What can he even do while his family falls apart, all because their leader is useless? That's when Marcus finally snaps. A huge blast erupts and he glares straight at her. He warns her again to leave, but she stays calm like nothing happened. She tells him to settle down. And she blocks Marcus's attack with one hand. She reminds him he of all people should know what it means to be a demi-saint. Then water magic starts forming around her when someone suddenly yells, "Hey, you pissed." She turns toward the voice and Ethan flicks her right on the forehead. The hit shocks her so badly she blacks out. She drops to the floor and Marcus quickly turns to the protagonist. He calls out in surprise, asking what Ethan is doing here. Nye says he was worried Marcus would get dragged Into another mess. Marcus jokes that he must really care about him, but he tells him to quit messing around. Then he asks why this woman keeps showing up everywhere he goes. The saint is lying there unconscious, foam at her mouth, while the protagonist wonders if she actually likes him. Marcus just stares, thinking this guy has issues. Then the story shifts to the saint's thoughts. She thinks about Ethan, the 13th saint, the one everyone called the strongest. Trembling, she admits she always hated Ethan. No, she feared him, his scarred face, his violent nature that crushed anyone in his way, and those cold eyes that always looked down on her. Her memory goes back 20 years. People were screaming that Ethan had arrived and trying to stop him. They told him this was Aquarius's sanctuary and demanded he leave, but Ethan only looked at the woman in front of him and bluntly told her to screw off. She froze in shock, and someone in the back asked what that was supposed to mean. It was the young saint demanding to know how he dared invade this place and telling him to leave. Ethan shocks her just to check if her heart is working, then grabs her by the arm. He says everything's gone to hell lately and people keep calling them useless, so she needs to come with him now. She refuses right away, saying she has no intention of helping anyone. MC gives her a hard look, but she keeps complaining that he smells like sweat and she still has to put on makeup for an interview. Then she tells him to let go, whining that his gross hand is squeezing too hard. That's where Ethan loses patience. He slaps her across the face and they keep arguing inside. In the end, she says she got dragged there to treat the wounded until she passed out. She calls Ethan rude and irrational and says she truly hates him. When she finally opens her eyes, he is there calm as ever, telling her she talks too much in her sleep. She's even drooling, which only makes the moment more embarrassing. She stares at him, and after a tense pause, she suddenly screams, asking what he's doing there. She demands he let her go and asks how he dares treat a saint like this. Ethan thinks she hasn't changed at all in 20 years, still saying the same stupid stuff. Meanwhile, she tells herself things aren't like they were 20 years ago. She plans to coat her hands in acid and melt the rope, tying her up. Sure, a restraint like this is useless on her. If she can just get free and meet up with Steven. Ethan flicks her forehead again before she can finish. He tells her to stop it. Her tricks are way too easy to read from her face. She fires back, calling him an idiot. Her acid protection skill activates the instant someone hits her body, and now that acid should start melting him down, beginning with his hand. She imagines Ethan screaming as his body dissolves, but he just points a finger at her and says, "That's it, full recovery." She's stunned. The melted part heals instantly, and she realizes this isn't normal recovery, it's theft. Then Ethan says it's time to go over everything. Between them, he heard she's been telling everyone she was his doctor. He calls that pathetic and asks if she was the one who sent her dumb servant to the appraisal shop. If so, she's earned 5 flicks. She panics and begs him to wait, but the protagonist just raises his hand. Time's up. Then the forehead flicks start raining down while Marcus calmly drinks his coffee and thinks Ethan beats everyone the same way. Man or woman, to be fair, they all gave him a reason. Still, Marcus feels like something strange is happening. It's almost like MC's divine status is rising with every hit. System messages begin popping up. They say his divine status is charging 40 so far. It also notes that he landed a heavy blow on the Saint of Aquarius and obtained a special item, Saint rank data. After a while, Ethan finally stops. The Saint is completely wrecked and the system speaks again. Her divine status has been unlocked. Current divine status -50. Required charge. Ethan cuts in confused. Divine status, what is that? He asks for an explanation, and the system says divine status is a god's power source used to bring out and maintain a deity strength. It also says he can steal divine status from disciples and even from other gods. If someone's divine status falls to 0, that zodiac loses its power, and if it stays there, that could even lead to death. He figures that means he can gain divine status by beating people up. He wonders why he didn't get any from Victor back then. Maybe because this feature wasn't unlocked yet. Then Marcus notices the phone and asks where Ethan got it. The protagonist says he borrowed it from someone he knows, Marcus's son. He adds that he has to head to the auction house now so Marcus can handle the rest. As for her, MC says to toss her into any trash can. Marcus is left stunned while Ethan casually walks off. He says he'll get in touch after the auction ends. Marcus calls after him, asking what he's supposed to do with her. A little later, the door opens. Marcus assumes he came back and asks if he forgot something, but when he looks up, he realizes it isn't him. It's Steven. Steven takes in the whole scene, seeing the Saint tied up. While Marcus stares back at him, he asks Marcus what he's doing here. It's been a long time, he says, but this clearly isn't a moment for friendly greetings. Marcus asks why Stephen is at the auction, and Stephen explains that the Saint of Aquarius formed an alliance with him, even as he looks at her beaten-up state in that chair. Then he asks again why Marcus is. Here, Marcus answers that he has business at the auction house, and that's none of Stephen less than greater than's concern. Stephen asks if Marcus is also after the divine relics of Ethan being sold there. That catches Marcus off guard, and he asks if Ethan's relics are really in this auction house. Stephen is surprised he didn't know. Then he sneers that they'll cost more than Marcus could ever afford, so knowing doesn't really matter. Marcus smiles and calls him out. He says Stephen has always collected relics made by Legum, even though he never admitted how strong Legum was and always felt inferior to him. So is he really hoping that owning those relics will make him as strong as Legum? Stephen is shaken for a second, but then both men start gathering power. Stephen moves in first, grabs Marcus by the arm and warns him, "Don't get cocky." He says Marcus is nothing but a fool, and he doesn't want to hear Ethan's name from him. As he twists Marcus's arm, Stephen claims he's stronger than Ethan. Now but then someone rushes in, shouting for the Divine Captain. There's a problem. The Gemini bastards are buying up all of Ethan's items. Stephen immediately lets go, saying he has no more time to waste here. He tells Marcus to do whatever he wants with Aquarius. Since Marcus didn't come for her, he should just leave. The auction is Stephen less than greater than's top priority, so he heads out. Before going, he gives Sagittarius one last warning. Control that attitude and bow your head if you want to stay. Alive, Marcus sarcastically thanks him so much he could cry. After they leave, Marcus looks at his hand and curses. It's in terrible shape, and now he's not sure what to do. The scene shifts to Drama's auction house. Inside the Gemini VIP room, the auctioneer announces that Gemini has won the divine relics again. With that, the first session of the auction is over. The second session will begin soon after the break. Marcus celebrates, saying it's his again. Someone congratulates him and says he can buy as much as he wants. Marcus thanks them for inviting him into the VIP room and even letting him buy whatever he wants. Take whatever you want, that's only natural. We want someone talented like you. Divine Captain, are you sure this is okay? The total for these divine relics already went over billions of one. It's fine. More importantly, Rihanna, sorry, but can you cover the alcohol bill? I didn't bring a company card. He'd already borrowed a ton of money, but since he was my superior, I couldn't really complain. Then the guy suddenly pulled out a black card and said not to worry. He'd already paid everything. Wait, isn't that my unlimited card? When did he take it? You looked pretty drunk, so I paid ahead of time. You really shouldn't make your subordinates pay, even by accident. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I was just about to hand him my personal card, so thanks for helping me pay with it. This kid looked young, but he was clearly trying to get inside my head. Still, this was the super rookie who beat the Spider Queen. If I use him, well, no price will matter. Anyway, we've had enough drinks. Let's talk about the real reason we're here. I've been thinking a lot about you. I'm sure you've got huge potential. You could become S-rank or even more, especially if you receive the blessings of our Saint of Aries. But our protagonist notices something first. That purple mist, dominating mist, normal people wouldn't even notice it. It doesn't force anyone to obey, but just breathing it in makes people trust him more. You might even become one of the 10 saints. And that's not all. You'd gain wealth, honor, and the great authority of the mighty mage, Saint of Aries, all of that free. Now take my hand and become one of great Aries' disciples. That made our protagonist crack up. He started smiling and everyone around him got confused. Wow, today's been really funny. So let me get this straight. You want me to become some minor god's employee? He was so polite a second ago. Why is he suddenly mad? I need to change the subject first. I think you've got one thing wrong. Just then someone from outside spoke up. Excuse me, I brought the auction items that were purchased. Perfect timing, please come in. The woman stepped in with the items. Excuse me and congratulations. Here is your auction item along with the certificate proving it's one of Ethan's divine relics. A certificate of authority. These people really know how to fool idiots, but the man with glasses saw it and froze. Did you really buy one of Ethan's relics? You said I could buy anything. I wasn't looking for this on purpose, but it seemed useful. Stephen is obsessed with Ethan's divine relics, so we really shouldn't have provoked him by buying one. I'm sorry, but this relic already has another owner, so we'd like to refund the money. Right then the door exploded open in a burst of lightning. Everyone turned at once, furious. Stephen demanded, "Who was it? Who dared to touch what belongs to me?" "Oh, Stephen, he's the one I told you about, the guy who wanted my relic. Mr. Stephen, I'm very sorry. Please forgive us. The newcomer made a mistake, he just didn't know better. I'll return it to you right away. Fine, then all he has to do is admit it and hand it back. Thank you very much. You can take your time with the payment. What, you don't actually think you can walk away after touching what's mine, do you, Captain Shy? Stephen grabbed the glasses guy by the head. Crap, he's trying to save billions by calling it a simple mistake. Stop talking nonsense. I bought it, so why would it be yours? If you want it that badly, I'll sell it to you for 20 billion. Stephen went quiet for a second, then burst out laughing. Haha, so Gemini isn't full of cowards after all. There's at least one gutsy bastard here. Oh no, this lunatic wants to die. Doesn't he know who Stephen is? I like you. A man should at least have courage. He tossed the poor guy with glasses to the floor, then walked right up to our protagonist. If meeting like this is fate, then why don't we introduce ourselves? Whenever I meet someone I like, I make sure to do it properly and with plenty of sparks. What the hell are you talking about, Stephen, you bastard? Looks like your skills improved a little. As expected from Leo, the one built for combat. Your fighting spirit can't even be compared to Aries or Aquarius. Once you show your claws, you're never satisfied until you rip someone apart right. What a rotten temper, Stephen lunged with his hand. Raised at our protagonist, and lightning burst out everywhere. The others stared in shock, calling out to the protagonist, certain he'd won. Stephen sneered, that was fun. You can spend the rest of your life comfortably in a wheelchair. But then he paused. Hey, what are you doing? Trying to brush dirt off my shoulder. What was that? That attack definitely hit him head-on. You redirected my attack with teleportation. You really can't tell, huh? You're still all muscle and no brain. Stonewall. Breaker, did you really think the skill I created would work on me? You begged me to teach it to you, saying you wanted to save people with it, but looks like you only used it to show off your power. What? You? Who are you? At that exact moment, the woman returned and thanked everyone for waiting, saying the main highlights of the auction would begin soon. Oh, is it already time? What now? Another relic of mine. I've got questions for you, but this auction matters more, so take good care of that. Pendant, I'll come back after it ends. After he left, Ryan turned to the man with glasses and asked how he thought that attack had been deflected, reducting an attack from a saint-ranked fighter that was almost impossible even for him. Who the hell is this guy? Meanwhile, Stephen thought, it's finally within my reach. His mind went back to the incident when an unknown calamity appeared on an island in Germany around 20 years ago. The island had been completely wrecked and a helicopter circled above it while reporters watched. Hello, we're currently above the island where the calamity appeared. Even though 4 days have passed since the 13th awakened one Ethan entered the area, we still can't confirm what's happening inside because he hasn't come out. Several saints tried to enter, but none succeeded because a massive curtain of poison surrounds the island. We'll return with more updates as soon as anything changes. Back then, while Stephen was still young, someone beside him said, this is as close as we can get, Saint. Stephen could only wonder how Ethan got in there, and how he was fighting inside a place no one else could even enter. Why do I feel this way? Because of some bastard who nearly died without even having a god's blessing. What's the difference between me and him? Power, followers, skills. What am I missing? St. Ethan is finally coming out of the entrance. What? Everyone looked on in shock. It's Ethan. Ethan came back alive. Ethan cleared the Delta calamity and our protagonist just calmly said, man, it's hot as hell. While everyone else celebrated the hero's return, saying, it looks like Ethan stole all the glory again. That's fine. I understand now, Saint. Where are you going? Prepare to withdraw. You're not taking your weapon. I don't need it, you can keep it. I found something even better. This is what I was missing. Compared to Ethan, this is a divine weapon. Then the story returns to the auction where the announcer says, now we present one of Ethan's 8 great relics. We will reveal the strongest relic ever used in Berlin Wolf. And everyone stared in shock, just as I thought. That's it. I finally get to see it again. Ethan's relic one more time. The thing that will make me stronger. It was the strongest bone club, also known as the Great Bone. My God, I can't believe I'm seeing this. I'd only read about it in history books. This is the greatest divine artifact, both in historical value and practical use. So who will become the owner of the Great Bone? The room exploded as everyone shouted and tried to buy it. Our protagonist thought, yeah, I really did use that before. But hey, Kayan Sununj, that thing is Kanunj was too shocked to listen. Not now, I'm busy. Later, captain of the sanctuary. Do something, I'll contact headquarters. We can't let this get taken away like this. Our protagonist got annoyed that they were ignoring him. Now we'll begin the bidding for this item. The starting price is $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $30 million, $50 million. Then, a flood of system messages popped up in front of the protagonist. His fame kept rising. "Huh, what's going on? System, calm down. My god, why are people throwing around so much money for that thing? And besides, isn't it obvious it's a legendary weapon made by Ethan himself?" Ethan got even more irritated as the explanation continued. "You might not know this, but there's a reason. People act like this. Accessories, charms, tools, magic weapons, every divine relic he made is considered the best of the best. Anyone interested in divine relics will do anything to get their hands on one, especially the Saint of Leo, Stephen Mercer. He's a serious case. He's been collecting Ethan's relics all over the world. He's overwhelmingly powerful for a saint, so people are afraid to challenge him when it comes to Ethan's relics. It's a shame the relics ended up filling only part of his collection. I need to calm down. All the profit is going into the government-managed bank account anyway." Then our protagonist paused. "Wait, the profit goes to my bank account, so no matter who buys it. That's great. Fine, whoever wants it can go ahead and buy it." And the bidding kept going. Stephen Mercer suddenly shouts 1 billion. "I'll pay 1 billion, he says, and the whole place freezes. He starts walking forward and snaps. "Didn't you hear me? I'm buying this relic for $1 billion. If that's not enough, I can make it 10 billion. The announcer stares for a second, then repeats 1 billion, an overwhelming bid of 1 billion. Everyone else is basically done right there. No one can match that kind of money. Even Ryan and the man with glasses look crushed. Do something, but there's nothing they can do. Meanwhile, Ethan just watches the whole thing like it's a show. Then the announcer calls out, "Sold. The great bone has been sold for an unbelievable $1 billion. After that, the scene cuts to some cleaners talking nearby. One of them says, "Did you hear? They said it sold for $1 billion. Yeah, that's not the kind of money anyone can just throw around. People like us can't even dream of numbers like that. Honestly, I just hope someone shows up and wrecks that guy." But then something catches their attention, and when they look up, a massive ice dragon is right in front of them. The man instantly takes it back. Back at the auction, Stephen is celebrating with his prize in hand. But honestly, to Ethan, that legendary relic still just looks like a normal bone. Stephen can barely contain himself. "I got it. I really got it." The people around him cheer and congratulate him, calling him the greatest. Then a huge explosion erupts right in front of him. As Stephen wonders what's going on, that giant ice dragon appears. Panic breaks out at once. People start screaming that a calamity has appeared, and the creature says only one thing: "I found Ethan's relic." Its eyes lock onto Stephen and it lets out a deafening roar. Then it charges straight at him at full speed. Stephen just grins and starts calling up his lightning power. He swings hard and sends the dragon flying. The impact wrecks everything in its path. Laughing, Stephen says this is the first time he's ever felt thankful for a calamity because thanks to it, he gets to test this divine artifact right away. He stands there full of confidence, throwing around lightning while gripping the bone. Still, something feels off about it. Then the damage from that attack becomes clear. Someone realizes this is bad. The teleport zone's magic tower is collapsing because Stephen blasted the dragon into it. Everyone is horrified. If all that debris hits the ground, the floating island could fall. Someone quickly orders the disciples to combine their strength and block it. Others jump in too, saying they'll help, so everyone starts gathering their power, pouring out mana until it forms into a huge sphere. They launch upward. They fire it into the sky with a shout. And the blast slams into the tower, stopping it from crashing onto the crowd. But people immediately realize it still won't be enough. The structure is too huge to destroy in time. Panic spreads again as people yell for everyone to run. Then someone calls out, "Apollo's Fury." A giant whirl of flames sweeps over the area and stops the debris from falling on the people below. In an instant, the wreckage turns to ash. Everyone recognizes that skill. It's Marcus, the Sagittarius saint. Marcus appears with his bow in hand. Annoyed, he mutters that that idiot lion really needs to learn how to control his strength because that was dangerous. People thank Marcus, but then something else catches his eye. He looks to the side and sees another huge monster staring at him. This one looks like a dog mixed with a dinosaur, and it's already preparing to attack. Marcus realizes there's another one. The creature keeps staring at him, and then fleshy tentacles shoot out toward the people nearby. The tentacles latch onto them and the victims start screaming for help. Furious, Marcus curses it. He pulls back his bow to strike, but a roar suddenly sounds behind him and he turns at once. It's the blue dragon Stephen hit earlier, coming in with its jaws wide open. Marcus realizes too late it's about to take him down. Right then, just like the last chapter teased, the chaos reaches its peak. The monster had come up from behind Marcus, and when he turned, its mouth was already closing in. Everything looked over until Ethan rushes in and slams the monster away. Marcus jumps in shock and yells out to him, "Hey, pay attention." The protagonist sends the monster flying, and Marcus thanks him, saying he just got saved. Ethan fires back that Marcus should be the combat saint, so why does he have to save him? He even asks how Marcus can be weaker than a production saint like him. MC says he gets nervous every time he leaves Marcus alone. That leaves Marcus looking completely depressed, and the two start bickering like usual. Then something grabs their attention again. It's Stephen running over while shouting and holding up the bone. He yells, "Don't interfere, I'm testing my new weapon." The monster roars back at him, and Ethan realizes he almost forgot that thing was still here. Then from above, Stephen starts building up lightning again, shouting that no one should ruin the stage prepared for him in the Great Bone. But Ethan notices something strange while the monster keeps growling at him. Stephen then unleashes his sovereign Skill Battlefield of the Victors. A massive shield of lightning forms around the area. Smirking, he tells them to watch closely inside this unbreakable thunderstorm. He says that before he was unprepared and had to fight back using only magic, but now they'll see the true power of the Great Bone. The crowd starts praising Stephen, calling him the strongest saint and saying, not even Ethan could stand against him. All fired up, Stephen drags that giant bone forward. Ethan still isn't buying it. Stephen declares that the monster should prepare for his fury, then brings the bone down on its head. The monster doesn't move. Stephen just stares at it. Everyone else is confused too. Stephen slowly steps back, still watching the monster as it stares right back. He scratches his head and the monster somehow looks just as confused. Then Stephen gets mad, winds up again and starts hammering it with hit after hit. The monster finally loses patience and punches him in the face, sending him flying. As he tumbles back, Stephen can't understand it. Those attacks should have landed, so why isn't Ethan's weapon working? The scene shifts to Ethan, who's touching the lightning barrier that trapped them inside. He swears that once they get out, he won't go easy on that stupid lion. Using his own sovereign skill like this was unbelievably dumb. Still, Ethan decides that first things first, they need to deal with the enemies in front of them. Then we see all the people possessed by the monster. They look like a pack of zombies and Marcus remembers something. These people aren't actually part of the calamity. They were just caught by its ability. And since they're standing in front of it, it's probably using them as hostages. That means they can't attack carelessly. The possessed people beg for help as they stagger toward them, but Ethan says maybe they have no choice except to aim for the head. Marcus panics and asks what he's even talking about. He admits he doesn't really have a plan. He just wants to rip those things off. Then Marcus begs him to wait, but one of the monsters lunges at Ethan with its mouth wide open. The protagonist grabs it by the head, gives it a cold look, and says now. Then he tears the monster's ability right off like it's nothing. Marcus is left staring in shock while the others keep looking on. Ethan just grins and says it's simple. The victim collapses, but now he's free of the monster's control. Marcus asks if the guy is okay. MC says he probably is. He's just unconscious. Marcus still can't believe what he saw and asks how Ethan did that. He says it was just brute force. Marcus answers that he can't do that because he's not absurdly strong like him. The protagonist shrugs and says he'll take care of all of them anyway. He adds that he never expected much from a weakling like Marcus. That only makes Marcus even madder. Still, Marcus says they can't just charge in blindly, so he'll cover him. See the two start powering up. Marcus with flames, Ethan with black lightning. He asks Ephro if he still remembers how to do this. Ephro answers with a confident smile. The protagonist tells him to keep up. Marcus summons his fire bow and Ethan says instead of standing around, they should finish this now. The monster and the possessed people all turn toward him. He gets ready and bursts forward at high speed, striking right through the middle of them. His lightning spreads out, hitting every possessed person and destroying the monster's control over them. The creature stares at Ethan in shock, then fires a bunch of slime shots at him. He dodges them all with ease, but then notices the monster wasn't just aiming at him. It was targeting the civilians he had just saved. As they start waking up, the monster tries to possess them again. From the back, Marcus gathers his power and fires a rain of flaming arrows that destroys the attack before it can reach them. The civilians flinch and shield themselves. With a serious look, Marcus says that as long as he's here, the monster won't touch those people. Ethan praises him, then calls out to the ugly thing, telling it to stop wasting time and come at him. The monster locks onto the protagonist as he pulls back for a huge punch and blasts the creature away, flying into the sky, and the creature lets out a rough scream. But Ethan's hit tears the monster apart in one shot. Then he just stands there like it was nothing. Just what you'd expect from MC. He ended it instantly. With that thing gone, the people it controlled should wake up soon. They're all lying on the ground, slowly recovering. Then something catches Ethan's attention, and he pauses. He tries to figure out what's going on when one system window after another starts popping up, listing all the skills he just got. One of them is Fighter's Instinct Level 1. The system asks if he wants to use it, and Ethan thinks Fighter's Instinct, so this skill needs a certain amount of divine power to work. Guess this is the perfect time to test it. He accepts. The scene shifts to Stephen still holding his bone. He curses under his breath, wondering how things got this bad. Why isn't the Great Bone working? Is he really unable to use its true power? Or is he actually weaker than that monster? As he stares at the giant creature, people panic, saying Stephen is getting cornered. Then they notice something else. Ethan's energy starts spreading through the whole area, and with his bare hands he rips open the skill Stephen had used. Stephen can't believe it. His sovereign skill was broken, feeling real danger. Now the monster decides it needs to grab the divine relic first, then kill Ethan. The moment it lunges in to bite him, he snaps, "Shut up." Then he slams it down, sending it crashing so hard everyone has to brace against the shock wave. Stephen gets thrown back while Ethan just stands there calmly, one hand in his pocket. The monster is smashed into the ground, and it can't understand how a human could be this strong. It even asks if the protagonist is really human. Ethan fires back, "What the hell are you talking about, idiot?" Then he stomps down again and wrecks everything around him. Stephen watches in disbelief, muttering that there was only ever one person with this kind of destructive power. He is. Before he can finish, Ethan looks at him with a creepy smile and says, "It's good to see him again." He calls him a damn lion and says he's been having fun dragging MC's name through the dirt. Stephen is already on the ground shaking. He stammers that it can't be possible, then swings at Ethan. But he freezes because he catches the great bone like it's nothing. Trembling all over, Steven listens as the protagonist says he must have had a lot of fun playing with this. Then Ethan crushes the bone in his bare hands and says sorry to ruin his hopes, but it's just an ordinary bone. He tosses the pieces right at Steven's face, and the guy realizes all that effort was for nothing. So MC says it's only fair that he gets his turn. Steven begs him to wait, but there's no time. Ethan punches him straight into the ground, blasting through the entire place and out the other side. Cursing him, Steven drops into open space. Far away, the saint lies there, still unconscious, slowly waking up. Confused, she wonders where she is and why her head hurts. Back with Ethan, Marcus can only stare at the huge hole he made. The protagonist casually says goodbye to that damn lion. If he's still alive, of course. Marcus asks why he threw him from that high up. Ethan shrugs, with a body that tough he'll probably survive somehow. Maybe. Marcus asks if the captured people are okay, and MC points out that they clearly are. Everyone is celebrating because they survived the calamity. Then he snaps his fingers and calls over Piggy, the former Pichu, who's now one of his pets. He tells Piggy to go collect anything valuable. Marcus sighs. Ethan is still as greedy as ever. The pet starts sucking up treasures while the two talk like nothing happened. Marcus asks about the person who lent the protagonist a phone. He says he thinks the guy's name was Ryan. That answer hits Marcus hard. Ethan adds that it was probably Ryan, someone tied to Gemini and still young too. But the kid seemed really sharp, so he thinks he's worth keeping close. Marcus starts shaking because the protagonist is talking about the very son he never wanted near him. In his head, he's screaming that Ryan really went and got involved with this walking disaster. He tries to remember the boy's face, thinking about how careful he'd been to keep Ethan away from his kids. Those two absolutely idolize MC, and if they learn he's alive, his family is doomed. He mentions Ryan was with a Gemini bishop who can use teleportation magic, so if he calls them, they'll probably all show up at once. That makes Marcus panic, and he quickly says they need to leave right now. Ethan asks why, so Marcus tries to make up an excuse, saying the protagonist must be tired and shouldn't bother with Gemini. MC pauses at that. Then he remembers all the trouble he caused with Ryan before and admits Marcus might be right. Maybe they really don't like him. Sorry, Ryan. Marcus keeps trying to brush it off and steer Ethan away from Gemini. But right then someone calls out, Dad. Marcus turns at once that voice, and then comes the question, are they talking about Ethan? At that moment, Ryan A appears behind them, leaving Marcus stunned. Marcus blurts out Ryan's name, shocked that he's already here. Ryan tells his father to tell the truth while Marcus fumbles for words, but before they can sort it out, the monster starts mumbling Ethan's name and fires off another wave of slime attacks. They head straight for him, but just before they hit, Lime appears out of nowhere and sucks up the entire monster until nothing is left. The system announces Divine Relic Omnipresent Mud Dumpling Poison Resistance acquired. The skill range of body of 100 poisons has expanded. When creating a divine artifact, poison resistance will now be added as a basic effect. Ethan just stares at Lime eating the monster, then suddenly starts yelling in anger. He can't believe the glutton tried to eat trash like that off the ground, telling it to spit it out right now. He grabs poor Lime and starts shaking it while Marcus watches and thinks, that thing came out of the bone calamity. This could have turned really dangerous. Ryan asks if that slime could be the one from the stories, and Marcus realizes he's right. He saw it in a book. It was Ethan's artifact, the amazing skill the protagonist showed earlier. That magical power the one person his shut-in father was friends with. And now that slime Ethan is holding. Alex starts wondering if this really is MC getting more emotional by the second. Meanwhile, Marcus just keeps taking mental arrows, looking totally crushed while Alex's eyes shine with excitement. He's still annoyed, keeps tugging on Lime. Then the scene shifts to the United States at the Lion Temple headquarters. Inside a meeting room with Lion's top executives, everyone is arguing because they still haven't found the Lion Saint. Since Gemini is famous for tracking people, someone says they should pay whatever it takes to make them find him. This is Oliver, Lion's bishop, the same man who was staring down Dylas a few episodes back. Someone asks if Gemini would even help after the mess he caused before. Oliver grumbles that he was only trying to look cool since it was his first big appearance. The discussion keeps going until one of them cautiously asks if the one who beat their leader could really have been Ethan. Oliver brushes it off, saying that even if it was the protagonist, he was beaten once before. Besides, among all the saints, theirs is the strongest. Then suddenly, a phone starts ringing in the background with a song mocking the lions and praising Ethan instead. The whole room goes silent and stares. She awkwardly apologizes, saying she forgot to put her phone on silent. The one speaking is Urim, Lion's vice castellan and one of its cardinals. A man snaps at her in disbelief, asking what she thinks she's doing when they're in a meeting to find their saint. Urim casually asks why they should even look for that bastard. Everyone is stunned, and she quickly says, fine, why should they look for him anyway? The guy's tough, he'll survive somehow. Now, everyone is wondering if that really was a slip, while another executive complains angrily. But Yaren checks her phone and reads the message. Nane, we've got a new uncle now. He's super cool, so come home fast. The legends were true. For context, Nane is basically like calling an older sister sis. The angry executive keeps shouting, asking if she's even listening, but Urin is stuck on one thing: an uncle. What does that mean? So she announces she's leaving and tells them to decide the rest on their own. Then she turns around and walks out, leaving everyone staring. The man with glasses is left fuming, yelling after her, Then, the story moves to the Aquarius dorm where Sophie and Marty. Live, a crowd keeps begging, asking the Saint to say something. They want answers about the drama incident, Ethan's part in it, and who was taken there. They also demand the truth about what happened 20 years ago, but her guards step in and shut it down. They say the Saint needs rest today. Any answers will come later through an official channel, so everyone needs to leave. Upstairs, Sophie watches all this with suspicion. With a face mask on, she fumes over Ethan. She can't believe he stirred up this much chaos. Her mind goes back to the disaster in Drama. People were panicking and yelling for space. Rumors spread that the Saint had been kidnapped and then released by bold criminals. Wrapped up and looking miserable, she stayed silent. Then the necklace Ethan put on her starts glowing green. Everyone panics thinking it's an attack, but then they realize it's some kind of message. A hologram appears. Who killed me? Ethan, tell everyone the truth about 20 years ago. Sophie panics, not knowing what to do. If she tells the truth, the other Saints will come after her. If she stays quiet, Leon definitely won't let it go either. She's furious that he did this to her while she was passed out. Worse, she can't even take the necklace off. Screaming in frustration, she swears he'll pay for this. In her mind, all of it is Leon's fault. Meanwhile, far away, our guy is completely relaxed. With Cafrino stretching out on his legs, he takes it easy. He casually says, maybe he should do some farming today. Then we cut to someone watching the news. The reporter says Sophie Marty still hasn't come out of her sacred dorm, and she hasn't made any statement at all. Out of everything that happened after Drama, this may end up causing the biggest fallout, but Lai thinks that still won't be enough. Then the scene shifts to Marcus's house, the Saint of Sagittarius. A shot lands right in the center. 10 points. The one who fired it was Marcus. Using his new bow, he waits for Leon's opinion. Asked what he thinks, Marcus says it's perfect. To him, it's way better than the one that old goat made before. Ethan, the 1100th, instantly gets annoyed by the comparison. Then he destroys the arrow that just hit the target. Smirking, he calls that a real 10 points. Marcus stares and asks if he really had to shoot like that. Even blindfolded, Leon hit Marcus's arrow. Exactly. He says shooting arrows is fun too. Marcus complains that he did it on purpose and didn't need to aim at his shot. He laughs and admits he only did it to mess with Marcus. Just then, someone walks up beside him. It's Ryan, warmly offering Leon water and a towel, asking him to help himself. The protagonist thanks him. The two sit there peacefully while Ryan looks after him. Behind them, Marcus burns with jealousy, so he asks Sanji if he brought water for his dad too. Rihanna tells him it's in the fridge and he can get it himself. Lijin can only grin at that. While Marcus sulks, MC starts thinking after what happened in Drama his stats went up, so maybe it's time to invest them. The system announces that Ophiuchus' sacred domain, the Serpent Palace, has been created. Since the domain is still Lowell, the space is small. The sacred domain is where the Constellation Master lives. It's also a private territory where that master can store and use power. Now Leon can control his own domain. He can even teleport the Localess Avatar CFO into it. The system adds that human avatars can strengthen the domain further. That part catches his attention. Then Ryan reminds him it's almost time to leave, saying he has things to handle too and they should go together. Ethan realizes he lost track of time. Marcus asks if he has a meeting, and he says yes. He's got a lot of people to meet today. Sometime later, Divine Captain Troy asks if Ethan, the protagonist, is finally going to join Gemini. Ethan keeps eating fried chicken and asks if this guy ever gets tired of asking. Even the worker nearby is shocked by how much he's eating. Says he may be busy, but recruiting talented people is always worth the time. He also says Ethan, the 100th, shouldn't act innocent. After all, he used Gemini's money to buy all those auction items in Drama that were worth millions. Ethan just plays dumb right to his face. He calmly wipes his mouth like nothing happened. Inside, Troy realizes that was exactly his plan and curses him for it. At first he thought Ethan, the protagonist, was just annoying, but now he's starting to like this. Ethan, meanwhile, remembers the saints he's already gotten revenge on. Next on his list is that purple witch. Then he agrees to join Gemini. Croy quickly says they should set an official date, but Ethan, the 1100th, has one condition. He wants the badge Croy is wearing. The others get angry right away, saying the saint herself gave that to him. Leon tells them to stay out of it. The adults are talking. He points out that the badge is needed to use Gemini's privileges. They can promise support later if they want, but he only trusts promises when he's holding something real. Surely, they can invest at least that much in someone talented. Troy doesn't know how to answer, and the others keep telling him not to accept. Ethan tells them to decide fast since he has another meeting after this. Then he checks his chat with Ryan. The scene switches to Ryan reading the message he just sent. The protagonist says he'll be a little late, and Ryan answers that he can take all the time he needs. The protagonist says okay. While calmly using his phone, Ryan thinks to himself that Nane will be shocked when she finds out Lai is his uncle. He's excited to see a reaction for the first time in ages. He also plans to ask for an autograph on the dagger MC prepared for him. But suddenly someone grabs it away, warning that playing with something like that is dangerous. The man says he'll be confiscating it. Ryan protests and demands to know what he means. The one bothering him is the A-rank Gemini Templar, Yan Wu. Ryan tells him to give it back. Yon Wu talks down to him, asking if that's how he speaks to his superior. He says they like coming to this cafe too. Ryan is fed up with him. He curses his luck and wishes he had gone somewhere else. He wants to hit him but holds back because this guy is Libra's son. That's why he acts so important. Then a system window pops up. The relic Janice's desire reacts to its master being in danger. Random skill activated. Light starts pouring out of the dagger and the blonde guy freezes, confused. Then Ethan's head suddenly appears right in front of him and slams straight into his face. Everyone with him is left staring in shock, not understanding what they're seeing. The dagger has literally summoned Leon into midair. The blonde guy crashes to the floor while Ryan lights up, happy that he finally arrived. Ethan, the protagonist, looks around in confusion and asks if that's really Ryan and what he's doing here. Meanwhile, the other guy cries about his nose. Ryan asks how he knew to show up right then. Ethan says he was just eating fried chicken at a restaurant when the one-time summoning skill he put in the dagger must have activated. That tells him enough, and he looks down at the blonde guy. So these punks threaten Alex. He asks how they dared mess with his nephew. The others are shaken, wondering if Ryan ever mentioned having some gangster uncle. None of them remember that, but they all agree this guy is terrifying. Ethan steps in ready to show them what happens when someone touches one of his own. They all panic, and then the story jumps back to the restaurant before Ethan, the 1100th, got summoned. Bear Troy had already accepted his deal. Even while thinking this was a bad idea, he decided Ethan was worth spending millions on if it meant recruiting him. He also planned to take the badge back later by sneaking a special clause into the contract. Handing it over, he tells him not to use it carelessly, and he says he'll try. Troy then asks for the contract, but just as he's about to hand it over, Leon vanishes right in front of him. Troy can only stare in disbelief. Then the waitress arrives with the bill, $790. They're stunned that he spent all that just on chicken. The scene returns to the cafe where the guys are already beaten and sprawled across the floor. The blonde one tries to act tough, bragging that he's from Gemini and filthy rich. Ethan doesn't care at all and keeps slapping him around again and again until the guy starts begging him to stop. Ethan, the protagonist, tells him to get up. He's only warming up. The guy panics because his magic defense isn't working. Furious, he snaps back, calling Ethan an arrogant worm bull of Faris. The monster calls out a giant summon behind him. MC just watches it without flinching. Everyone else panics and starts yelling for people to run. They know this place is about to turn into total chaos. Ethan mocks him, saying this is what he gets for acting so tough. Then he sighs and calls the guy way too loud. He says he expected something amazing, but that power is useless, not even good enough to light charcoal. A system message pops up. He mastered the enemy's magic and got data from Bala Faris rank Ses. The blonde guy is stunned and asks how that's possible. Was Ethan a mage? He answers no, he's a blacksmith. After that, more system messages start showing up one after another. The last one asks if he wants to use the data as a skill. Ethan says he'll show him how that skill is really supposed to be used. He calls out, "Burning manly bull of Phalaris." A huge minotaur appears and it tears through everything in its path. Sometime later, the blonde guy is smashed into a wall, completely wrecked. Ethan warns him if he messes with Ryan again, he'll end up skewered. He tells Rihanna not to be scared of idiots like that because his uncle will protect him. Rihanna happily agrees. Right then, Chen Yue finally arrives, asking where Chenjai is. She looks at the destruction around her and wonders what happened and if he's okay, but Sanji rushes up excitedly and says she won't believe it. He points ahead and tells her to come see the hero who beat countless calamities and saved humanity over and over. The same legend from the videos they used to watch again and again as kids. We see little Ryan and little Yue watching Jan back then. Now she stares at him in disbelief and whispers, "Mr. the protagonist." She even pinches herself to check if this is real. Glowing with excitement, she realizes it really is him. She can't believe how handsome he looks now. 20 years ago, he had all kinds of scars. And after spending 20 years in the Devil Tower, she thought he'd look even worse. But she tells herself that doesn't matter. What matters is the amazing hero he is. She's just so happy that Mr. Jane is okay. Rihanna points out she said all that out loud and she gets embarrassed. MC simply smiles at her and says it's a pleasure to meet her too. She introduces herself as Chen Yue and thanks him for helping Sanji. He tells her she doesn't need to be so formal since she's Marcus's daughter. She's basically his niece too. Those words hit her hard and she gets emotional. She apologizes for asking this right after meeting him, but she has a favor to ask. Changa tells her not to be shy, wondering if she wants an autograph. She starts asking if when he has time he could, but right then a lava monster rises behind him with a roar. Cho reacts to the shout, confused about what kind of favor this even is, but then he realizes the roar came from the monster behind them. It instantly cuts its head off while Sanji hides behind the protagonist. She tells MC to give her a moment. She'll ask properly after she deals with these calamities. Then she dashes off at full speed. Sanonji says she only got like this because of Jan, so he asks, "What did your sister just say?" She wants to ask for my hand. What is that supposed to mean? The scene shifts outside where an announcement warns that multiple calamities have appeared, and this is not a drill. Everyone needs to evacuate to safety. Calamities fill the sky while giant worm-like monsters tear through the city. People run in panic, but one monster is already full of holes like Swiss cheese. The one who did it is Yue with her spear. More calamities rush toward her, but she pushes herself harder, saying she needs to be faster. She keeps cutting them down one after another. She wants to finish this even quicker so she can go talk to her uncle. Even then, more calamities keep roaring overhead. Seeing the destruction spread, she gets annoyed that they won't stop appearing and decides to wipe them all out at once. She starts spinning her spear as she charges straight at them. He shouts for them not to interrupt her proposal. Then she hurls her spear and it destroys every calamity in its path. She declares the name of the move, Lotus Flesh. The attack leaves massive destruction behind. From From a distance, Cho watches it all and thinks he followed her because he was worried, but that clearly wasn't needed. Her combat sense is even better than Marcus's. When Yui notices Ethan, she gets distracted, and at that moment, a calamity appears right behind her. Just before it can grab her, he steps in and saves both her and Xian Ryan. Blushing hard, she says it's amazing that he even avoided her last attack. She says there really are impressive humans out there. Then a fierce monster woman appears holding a whip. She says Ethan will become her special pet. She's writing. Giant mutant turtle-like beast. She asks the protagonist why everyone these days keeps playing with fire. Ethan says he wasn't looking for trouble, but he does need materials to make more relics, so he'll use this chance. She declares he'll be her #1 fuel source and a fun human to train. MC realizes who they are, the unusual race, and says he needs to stop them now. Then he asks Yui why she's so distracted. He points out she was about to fight them alone again. He tells her to leave this to him and protect the civilians with Ryan. He trusts them because they're both strong, so they should leave these two enemies to him. Yui smiles and agrees. Alex then starts summoning his giant construct while Yui readies her spear again. Ethan tells them they should have a little fun. Just then the monster woman lunges at him with her whip, screaming for more. She wants him to suffer even more. Ethan keeps one hand in his pocket as he dodges every strike. She finally catches him with the whip, but he stays completely calm while she celebrates, saying it'll be even more fun to train him now. She flings him into the air, then smashes him through several buildings before finally slamming him into the ground. But he just tears her whip apart and tells her she talks too much for someone this weak. He asks if that's all she's got. The monster woman grins and says, of course not. And then her turtle breathes a blast of fire at Ethan. A huge explosion erupts.